Let's do this. And here we are. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Welcome, Charlie. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to our deadline day stream at HalfTimeCuppa. My name's Danny, and I'm joined by, of course, the one and only Charlie Pumphrey. How are you today, Charlie?
I am mighty fine, Danny. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I was just obviously watching a bit of the old Sky Sports coverage earlier. Trying not to nod off, actually. I was trying not to fall asleep. It gets a bit too much sometimes, but hopefully we're going to have some action in these next couple of hours as we approach the deadline. Have you been up to much today?
Same as yourself, to be honest. Waiting to see what deals are coming through, seeing who's been linked with where. I know my club Brighton are doing a little bit of business on the last day. But yeah, just hoping that there's not too much drama going on around and about the league.
Well, I mean, let's hope we have an entertaining window. I know we've
Oh, for
had
sure.
some go by in the past where it's almost been dragged. We're almost dragging ourselves across the deadline as such, with not much going on. Hopefully today will be slightly different, and certainly with a condensed sort of 2-3 hours, we're going to chat through quite a few things and probably reflect on the window as a whole. So it should be really interesting. And just to give you a bit of an insight as well as to what's coming your way, we do have two great guests, at least two great guests coming on today, both by the name of Harry. So we've got double Harry.
We're going to have to work that one out.
Yeah, we're going to have to come up with some kind of nickname for him, maybe.
I'm sure one will rear its ugly head at some point during the next few hours.
Well, of course, if you do have any ideas, do send them in to us in either the YouTube comment section. I believe, Charlie, you're on the ball on that one.
I'm on the ball. I'm here and ready to take any abuse we almost certainly deserve.
Oh, most definitely. And I've got TweetDeck open. Charlie's got TweetDeck open. So hit us up on Twitter as well at halftime_cuppa. Of course, the Champ Base, a really good Twitter account, a really good football blog, have just also sort of promoted us. So please do go check them out as well. We were really hoping to get some of those guys on for the championship segment, weren't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think what we can say is that we definitely will have a couple of their guys on at some point to really nail on with that championship stuff and what looks like a really exciting season.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, there was quite a few people when Charlie and I we had this conversation of who we could bring on and the panelists. We approached quite a few people. We really dug behind the sofa to try and find people. So we really have pulled off some deadline day wonders here in terms of the two Harrys, but there's a few that unfortunately did slip through the net, but we will bring them to you on future podcasts, that's for certain.
Definitely.
So yeah, Charlie, where should we start off? What's on the agenda today? Do you mind just reminding anyone listening in?
So what we're going to start with, I think at the beginning, we're just going to talk through what's happened today, as it is, the things that are freshest in our mind. I think it's probably a good place to start. And as you can see, if you go down into the description of the video, you can see a schedule which is liable to change. We'll almost certainly drag on certain topics. I'm sure when one of the Harrys comes on, there'll be plenty of chat about Arsenal, and we could just do 3 hours on Arsenal. I know we've certain streams that we've both partaken in.
Plenty coverage, yeah.
Certain streams we've partaken in have very much veered towards Arsenal, but I think generally, yeah, we're going to start today on what's happened to date. I think it's probably the easiest way to go about that. I mean, where do you want to start? Should we start with some of the bigger deals today? I think the ones that are actually going to happen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, we've had a few go through today, but obviously the one that's sort of been developing, as Sky Sports News would put it, is the Danny Drinkwater one, who's obviously arrived at Burnley ahead of a proposed season-long loan.
Yeah.
from Chelsea. What are your thoughts on that then?
I think, to be honest, Danny Drinkwater's a fantastic piece of business for Burnley, depending on the financials. I mean, there's all that behind the scenes. We'll never know how much they're truly paying to have a player like him for a year. But, I mean, you're getting pedigree with someone like Danny Drinkwater now. He's been in and around these elite dressing rooms for the best part of 3 years. You're getting someone who knows how to win, someone that also as well has done that side of the game as well. Has with Leicester. He went from 1 year being a real, great escape, to winning the Premier League. So having those two dimensions, having that in the dressing room alone is fantastic. And he's still, a lot of people write Danny Drinkwater off as if he's in his mid-30s and this is kind of his farewell tour. But he's not even there yet. He's very much got a lot to offer. And I think as a deal, I mean, he was being linked with my club, Brighton, at the beginning of the week by Sky Sports, no less.
He was linked with Norwich as well at some point there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
not quite sure how. Yeah.
But yeah, the pair of, I mean, for him to come into a club, I think he was always going to have to go a little bit lower down the league than, say, mid-table. But I think he'll be a fantastic player for Burnley if he can keep himself fit, because it really is a question of how fit he's been when he's barely played for Chelsea over the last 2 years. It'll be a big challenge, but I think he's well up for it, and he fits the model of a Burnley player.
Yeah, I mean, from their perspective, they're obviously gaining a good player. And hopefully it should be a move that sort of suits all parties. Certainly Burnley, their season-long loan, they're not being tied into anything for a long period of time where, as you say, he's been injury-prone. If he is injured again, that's all that money down the drain, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, that's a sensible move by my judgment anyway. And it should be exciting.
Yeah, I think maybe just to lead on from that, actually, whether we could talk about whether that leads into actually whether clubs lower down the league seem to be not wanting to take on quite as much liability in the upfront now. If you're looking at the deals that are going through, especially late in the window, clubs seem to be taking a little less of. I mean, you look at Giovanni Lo Celso going to Tottenham. It's going to be a big deal, but it's on loan initially, I believe, is how it's being structured. So clubs are really structuring these deals, and it's more prevalent now than it was ever before.
Yeah, it's interesting because you've got so many contrasting styles down there. Obviously, you've got Aston Villa going in there, essentially going out, spending the money, getting the players,
for sure,
whether that be loans or actual signings. I know certainly when Harry does come on, we'll definitely be talking about Norwich and how we're both Norwich fans and how the club have sort of dealt with their financial constraints. And yeah, you do get some contrasting sort of approaches. I think there has been a lot of caution. I feel like there's been a lot of caution. But yeah, we'll have to see whether that pays off and makes it a bit more competitive, or whether Aston Villa, because of their decisiveness, stay up. I don't know. I do want to briefly talk about. We may not get the chance to talk about it, but Brighton. Then, do you want to fire away?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think good a time as any to start at the beginning. I think really with Brighton's window, you can probably start from today and work back a week, because a lot of our big business has been done in this last week. And I think the problem with our window has been that a lot of it's been reliant on other deals, effectively.
Yeah.
It's been reliant on, I think if Leicester had sold Harry Maguire 2 weeks ago, or 2 weeks before he signed on Monday, I believe it was, Lewis Dunk would have gone to Leicester. I think that would have been, as and where that would have happened, I think that would have been, and that would have changed things as well. I think especially with Graham Potter wanting to play free at the back this year, and really changing things up. And then I think we got to probably the end of last week. I mean, the difficulty with transfers is knowing how long they've been in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
But getting someone like Adam Webster, who to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of myself, but I hear nothing but rave reviews from people that have seen him a lot, whether that's bias, whether that's obviously living in a bubble. But he seems like he'd be a good player to play in that back three as well. And then getting someone like Neil Maupay has been someone we've needed to get probably since we've been promoted, and probably a while before. And it's good to see them really, really going for it. And then today adding Aaron Moy, although that hasn't gone through yet. There is a
Yeah, I
photo
was going to say that's very
circulating.
optimistic. Yeah,
Well, there's a photo circulating of an official photo of him in a Brighton shirt.
yeah.
So they accidentally announced it when they announced another deal earlier today. And so everyone's like, Graham Potter's just said, actually, it's funny, it's been reported by Sky that a deal is close.
Yeah.
But if there are photos of him circulating in a shirt, I can only assume it's done. If it doesn't happen now, that photo will very much live in infamy. So I think someone like Aaron Moy adds real quality to our midfield and really a lot of competition for players like Dale Stephens, Davy Proper. I mean, it sounds like it might signal the end of someone like Bram Kayal, who did fantastically at the end of last season, but it remains to be seen. I'm sure Graham Potter wants a lot of competition in his squad. I know Chris Hughton did, but he kind of stuck with his own men. I think it'll be very interesting to see. I'm more optimistic. I've seen a lot of predictions, which I'm sure we'll raise our own predictions at some point soon, that have put us in the relegation zone. It'll be fun to see the start of the season, see whether that changes for sure. But I mean, moving on from that, Danny, talking about my club, you've just said there about how Norwich have approached their window. What would you make of it so far?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, this is the thing. There's so much to talk about because there's elements of what you've just mentioned with Brighton that I'd love to discuss further. Certainly, Neil Malpai. They did have him on Sky earlier, pronouncing his name properly. But yeah, I mean, just quickly, he's a great signing for Brighton. He really is. The times I've seen him at Brentford, he's been very deadly. The stats don't lie either. He, from what I can remember, was one of the players that created the most took the most shots. So if he's creating those opportunities to take a shot, then likelihood is, if he's got some support around him and finds himself in some better positions, then maybe he's going to score more goals. So, from that perspective, I think that's great that you've got someone like that. The question I would have before I come on to Norwich, to go back to you, is he kind of mentioned about him playing up top with Glenn Murray. Do you see that ever being a possibility, having two up top?
Having watched our system in the brief time in pre-season, which is probably not the fairest time to look at it. I think Watford will be the fairest time to look at the system, but it has been that he's playing Jurgen Locadia with Glenn Murray up top and then Trossard playing in a free role behind him, another new signing. Didn't even give him a mention in our window, but he's a fantastic signing. I went to watch the game last week and he was amazing against Valencia. He looks fantastic. But it looks like he wants a Glenn Murray sort of striker, kind of more of a talismanic striker in the middle, and then someone who plays in and around him. And I don't know if Maupai's got quite the physicality to play in that role. And so I can see it happen. I can see him being the striker in like a Locadia move to be off the striker. But I think Graham Potter will be happy to move it in and around as it goes. And I'm excited. I think someone like Maupai is what we've been crying out for a long time.
Yep, it will be interesting to see how you guys get on this year, certainly with him. Just a quick one as well, final sort of bit, and then we'll move on. Knockout leaving.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think for me, and I feel like he'd probably say this himself, from what I've heard from him as well as what he's saying, is that it felt like the right time. It felt like if this was a good junction for us both to say, okay, you've been a fantastic servant to the club, and he loves the club. If you ask him about that, he'd say for the rest of his career. It's what he said often while he was at the club. But from what I hear from people outside of that don't watch, well, not to dig at anyone, but a lot of people that don't watch Brighton on a regular occurrence will see the goal he scored against Crystal Palace and will see how he played in the Championship and say, well, he's your best player. Why is he moving on? And he was unfortunately quite a distance from our best player for a long time in the season. But I'd be really interested to hear your perspective. Really interested to see what you'd say.
Actually, that's a good point. To be honest, I didn't watch Brighton too religiously.
No, but that's
as
the
I'm
thing.
sure you probably did. I think your best player, in terms of talent that I enjoyed watching, was obviously Pascal Gross. I enjoyed watching him. Knockout, I felt was kind of, and this is controversial, kind of felt quite similar to like a Redmond when we had Redmond, and everyone kind of focuses on Redmond where Norwich had him, everyone focused on him, but not
Mm.
the rest of the team. And yes, he was doing some great stuff, but there was other great
Elements.
players, if not better players. Yeah. So I can see why, because he's an exciting player. He does exciting stuff.
He is, yeah.
So yeah, I can understand why people say that. And the flip side is, and this is tying into why I can kind of understand why Brighton have got rid of Houghton, is you guys are. We all see Brighton play Man City or Brighton play Man United, but we've not seen Brighton versus Newcastle or Brighton versus Fulham, and I can guarantee that. I'm sure you'd agree.
I couldn't preach that any louder.
The setup, the play was the exact same.
Yeah, that was the problem. Is it felt that we were
always.
It was always Plan A, which worked for a long time in the season before last, and it was about maybe obviously we need to. You need a manager like Graham Potter to refresh the club, because it felt like we were almost stuck in our ways. And a lot of that came as well from the fan base, actually, with being like, okay, we don't want to lose Chris Hughton because he's got us here. And I think a lot of it was nostalgia towards what had been and not what can be. And that's what I think. I think a lot of people are undervaluing Brighton this year, but the problem is you can't say that until we see it. And for me, it seems like they've had a really good refresh in key positions. Doing my best Sean Dyche impression now.
Get yourself a drink, mate.
One second. No, that's all right. I'm back with it. I've stopped gargling worms. I'll be back with it. So it's...
Go on.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting season, and I think we are being slightly undervalued from someone who sees it all going on. But it's one of those. We'll see. We'll throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
Okay. So just to sort of butt in, there's a bit of developing news. Andy Carroll has supposedly turned up at Newcastle's training ground, supposedly, according to Sky Sports anyway.
A little bit of breaking news.
So yeah, what do you make of that? Because he's a free transfer, so he doesn't need to go through today. Oh, I love it. He's got the graphic up. Well done. It doesn't need to go through today. So I don't know what your thoughts are. Do you think it will?
I think he'll go through. It will go through. I think he won't be in the squad anytime soon, because by all impressions his fitness isn't great. Although I feel like whenever anyone talks about Andy Carroll, they'll just say his fitness isn't great. I think he isn't ever going to be 100%. But I think for him, it's, again, probably, to carry on from that last section, is nostalgia. It's that love for the club, isn't it? It sounds like he's going on a really affordable deal for Newcastle. It's an easy win for them. Bring Andy Carroll back. No one expects anything of him, but if he scores a few important goals, he comes back to Messiah status that he had before he left. So I think it's a really exciting time for him. I'm sure he'll be excited to start fresh, be back where he knows everyone, his family is, I'm sure, well acquainted with Newcastle. It's a good deal. I think a good deal all round. But I don't know what your opinion is.
Okay, well, let's... I mean, considering they sold him for, what was it, around 20, 30 mil, or something along those lines, I think they were saying. That's to get him back on a free. We're talking about clubs being maybe slightly cautious down the bottom end. This is one of those where not much money. I mean, all the money's been spent on the wages, really, isn't it? So
yeah,
if they're smart, maybe they'll do something where it's a pay to play. Or no.
Yeah, that sounds like the structure that's being talked about.
Yeah. I think that's probably a good idea. It's just popped up as well. There's another bit of breaking news. West Brom signed Charlie Austin. So it says.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here. It's coming
just
through.
Waiting for details on
4 million,
that.
A fee around 4 million. I'm seeing here. A 2-year deal with a 1-year option, and the transfer fee is believed to be around a £4 million mark. Which, if that's correct, and I know another player who struggled with his injuries, he's a fantastic striker, but I'd like to get your opinion on that, him going back to the Championship again.
Well, that's a bargain, I think, for West Brom. Charlie Austin's a great striker. Yeah, one I knew like sort of Norwich were linked with a while ago. Not certainly not this season, not this window anyway, but over the past couple of seasons we've been linked with him.
Yeah.
He's a really good striker, and certainly at Championship level he'll do the business. I think. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, it's a really good start for him. I mean, I caught some of West Brom's game at the weekend, and they looked like they were maybe slightly devoid of a striker that could fire them the goals to get them up. But someone like Charlie Austin, the real issue with him, though, is keeping him fit. I think if you can keep him fit, you can keep him firing. He's one of those players that needs a few games to get in the rhythm. It's a striker you see with quite a few players. But if you get him in the rhythm and he starts scoring goals, there aren't many better players for the Championship, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, moving on, we can talk about a few of the other deals if you like. There's reports coming through as well now that Ryan Sessegnon has signed a 5-year contract at Tottenham. The Daily Mirror reporting that at the moment, which has been, I think that's a deal that everyone's assumed has been done already, but that they've had to, I imagine they've had to really work on getting together and getting through. But I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on him potentially. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about him replacing Danny Rose at left back, which, I mean, some Fulham fans may see as quite controversial given that it's probably not his position anymore, but I'd like to gauge your opinion on that, whether that's the right move for them, whether it's the right move for him.
He's an interesting one because Championship he was outstanding. That he deserved the plaudits he got really. Last season was obviously his first season in the Prem. I think he took his time to adapt, but I think he did well. You got to bear in mind as well that Fulham team wasn't the same team. A lot of people probably read maybe too much into how much was spent. I don't know, but that team as a whole was different to the team that obviously got him up there in the first place. But in terms of him, I mean, from Tottenham's perspective, he could be a future star of the game. And, if you're getting him in now, and with the way these values and these figures are going, that could be considered a bargain. Could be considered a really good deal.
If 25 million is the fee, which is being banded around at the moment, that's, I think, a really positive deal all round. But it's certainly an interesting one.
I mean, you got to think as well. What is it? So 25 mil. I know he's young. He's English as well, so that's obviously bumped up the price. But the thing you got to consider as well is I'm pretty sure they sold Walker to Man City. I know Walker was the finished product, a bit more senior than obviously Sessegnon, but there could be some real sell-on value here.
Definitely, I think it's definitely a transfer
perspective.
I imagine for both parties it works for both of them. That Ryan Sessegnon goes to a club where he can play in the Champions League and really give himself and he can look at the players that have gone there and moved on. You can look at, talking about domestic players, look at Gareth Bale in an almost identical position, moving from Southampton to Tottenham. He was a left back. Everyone was unsure, was he playing left back at Tottenham? Maybe slightly further back on his development than Ryan Sessegnon is. And that Tottenham gave him a platform to then go on and be, arguably at that time, probably in the top 3 players in the world. Not saying that Ryan Sessegnon can make it there, but you can see that, and you can see Dele Alli moving from League One into the Premier League and being given opportunity, and working on someone like Pochettino that just seems to be really good at improving these young players and giving them the development they need.
Yeah, exactly. Just seeing another one come through as well is Marley Sarr. For Watford. Not seen much about him, to be honest. Do you know much?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know an awful lot. Having watched, he played for Rennes. I remember watching them play Arsenal in the Europa League this year, and he was one of their the game in Rennes. He tore. I know Arsenal's defence last season wasn't anything to shout about, but he was so incisive coming off that wing, and I think he'll be really fantastic player. A really, really fantastic player for Watford. I mean, they've been chasing him for a while. That's not a particularly new deal for anyone that's been keeping an eye on it, but a really good piece of business. And a little bit worried, given that we are Brighton are playing Watford at the weekend. Good signing for them.
Good. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting to see whether he delivers the goods on the weekend against you. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Anyway, we're approaching half past. We've got about 4 minutes left before we sort of delve into the championship segment. Just to sort of provide some clarity for anyone who maybe doesn't know, the Premier League window and the championship window closes today. But obviously League One and League Two, they can continue to sign, I believe, up until September the 2nd or something like that. So the obviously our main focus is going to be on the Championship and the Premier League. In case you're wondering why we've dedicated these sections. So and also, coming up at half past into the Championship, and then we will talk about obviously Norwich in the Premier League a little bit. All of through at the moment. Let's talk about that Dybala supposed sort of move to Spurs, but it's now sort of been quashed. What was your thoughts on that?
Definitely, I think that one fell down to the technicalities. I think that it's fallen down to what it sounds like. The issue is coming out is that it came from almost entirely from the image rights for the player, and that they were valued at around 15 million euros. And so Dybala asked Juventus to pay for part of that, to knock that fee down substantially, and that Juventus refused and decided that actually, look, a player of Paulo Dybala's quality, we can either use him to bring in. The room that I'm going around is that they're going to try and make a deal happen with Icardi, but as you just spoke about the windows, they have till the end of the month to make that move happen. And so I think they've probably got to the last minute and gone, well, why are we rushing when we've got another 3 weeks of the window? Spurs are just trying to get a deal through that ultimately just didn't work for both parties. And it's a real shame because he could have added a real next level quality to that an already really, really good Tottenham side that reached the Champions League final last year.
Yeah, it was. It certainly would have been a good signing. I feel like there was. I just, for me, it just never really felt like it was going to come off. It just, I mean, obviously, it's great saying it in hindsight, but I don't know. Sometimes you just get that feeling with names linked to certain clubs. For me, it just never really felt like it was going to happen. I could never see Dybala in a Tottenham shirt. But hey, look, maybe I'll still be proved wrong. We've got a good few hours yet, or an hour and a bit until the window closes. So
yeah, it sounds pretty dead and buried at the moment, if I'm being honest. But I mean, stranger things have happened.
It's time. Yeah.
And so,
okay, let's.
Much like that deal, let's call it off and let's crack on.
Let's crack on. I don't know if Harry's joined us. My phone cut us out earlier. I don't know if you noticed I dropped out.
Yeah.
I accidentally finished the call. So
behind the curtain. Everyone behind the curtain.
Yeah. No one noticed that at all. No.
Smooth.
So until Harry joins us anyway, let's sneak in another one then. Let's talk about well, you know what, we're going to talk about David Luiz anyway later, so we'll park that one because I know Harry's going to have some great input on that.
Well, let's talk about
the go on. Experiences, technicalities.
It's all getting a bit much, is it?
Right, we're back. Yeah, sorry. Go on, Mario Mandzukic. Go on.
Yeah, really quickly. It sounds like that deal's completely off now. Man United just can't get to an agreement on wages and funding. I think that's on the fee. Sorry. So that's just a bit. I mean, that's a shame for Man United of quality. But at 32, do you think he was the right man for Man United, or do you think maybe that was just a panic buy at the end of the window? You said panic buy.
Panic buy. Okay, perfect. Good. Right, let's bring in Harry. Harry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, guys. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. You?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
Not a problem at all. We're currently experiencing some interesting technicalities, so hopefully it stays up and hopefully we're okay.
You can bear with. Slightly more amateurish. elements of
We're not
this.
quite Sky Sports yet.
Absolutely no worries,
Not
guys.
yet. Not yet.
Absolutely
Yeah,
no
not
worries.
quite.
So yeah, Harry, how have you spent transfer deadline day then?
I've been sat in front of the TV with Sky Sports News on, just putting my feet up and watching what's happening, you know?
Okay, and so what's excited you so far? Is any deals excited you?
Well, I'm looking forward, obviously, to seeing Romelu Lukaku join Inter Milan from Manchester United. That one's been going throughout basically the whole of the transfer window, and now we're coming to the final day, where it's now looking likely that Lukaku will be joining Inter. So that's one that's really excited me, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Tottenham pull out the bag. I know that Paulo Dybala has been quite. That deal is kind of now off, but I'm interested to see like Lo Celso and Ryan Sessegnon join up.
Perfect. Okay, well, we'll wait and see what happens in the remaining time of this window. We've got just less than 1.5 hours left of obviously the window, but deals can still be announced after that, so do stick around for that. Just a quick plug as well. Send in your thoughts, any comments you have on any of the potential transfer stories that we talk about. Let us know in the comments section below or on Twitter at HalfTime_Cuppa. It'd be great to hear from you. Send us all the abuse about us calling Mandzukic a panic buy. Feel free to. I'm sure Charlie won't mind, will you?
No, not at all. And I mean, even now we're getting in. You can see in the comments on the stream. We've got a good comment here saying that Sarri, talking about Dybala again, told him that told his staff that he had 70 million, he would sign Dybala himself. So it sounds like there's been a real change of heart in in Juventus, and obviously Sarri's changed his mind. He's just is one out maybe. But I'd like to get whether you think Dybala. I mean, talking about European football here. But it's a real change of the game there. Sorry, carry on.
No, that's all right. Let's crack on. Let's go on to the championship then. I've just seen popping up on my timeline a bit about a tweet from Peter O'Rourke. Promise you, the pronunciations get worse and worse. Trust me.
Every year there's always one.
Every year there's always one. And this one's not even a player; it's a journalist.
It's not. Yeah. Go on.
Anyway, so he's sort of tweeting that Birmingham are supposedly plotting a last gasp move for Stoke striker Benik Afobe. Now, Harry, I don't know if you remember a couple of seasons ago, whilst following Norwich, we were kind of linked with Afobe for a little bit. What's your thoughts on that supposed move?
Benik Afobe a couple of years back, I remember him being linked with Norwich, and I at the time thought, wow, that would actually be a really fantastic move for us to get someone like Benik Afobe in. And now, what's that, a move to Birmingham, is it?
Yeah, supposedly so, yeah.
Well, that'd be a really good one for Birmingham. I think they need to replace Shea Adams, who they've lost, obviously, this summer. And so, I really feel that Benik Afobe would be a decent striker. Stoke probably didn't utilise him the best that they could, and so I think Birmingham is probably about his level.
One thing I'd like to add there, actually, something that has been developing for this afternoon that we've been keeping an eye on here, is there's been rumours about Badu Ndiaye as well, who are from Stoke. I hope I got that pronunciation right, although we'll leave that to the dubious pronunciation panel. It's been talked about him being a Premier League player by the end of the day. In fact, I think it's even been said by his agent, allegedly, that he may be a Premier League player by the end of the day. And so now it seems as well, though, that the rumour going around is that they're interested in Dwight Gale from Newcastle. And so it would make sense in that domino chain we were talking about at the very start of the stream that seems to be happening around the transfer deadline, always happens, that maybe Stoke let Benik Afobe leave and Dwight Gale was the man to replace him. Wonder what your opinion would be if Stoke can pull that off with what have we got now, an hour and 23 minutes left on the clock.
Go on, Harry, kick us off on that one. Dwight Gale.
Right, Dwight Gale, absolutely. Again, another one that Norwich have been linked with in the past, and again, another one that I thought, what an unbelievable signing that would be. And I think the Championship is definitely his level. As you can see, he's been linked with several Championship clubs, and Stoke, they are a team that are going to try and push for promotion again this year. Or they will want to push for a promotion, and Dwight Gale would certainly be a good signing to have under him. For West Brom last year, he was fantastic. It's a shame about his red card in the playoffs. I feel if he stayed on, also he actually might have pushed West Brom to maybe get into the final, and they could have gone and won it, because I think they were a fantastic club. But Dwight Gale would certainly be a fantastic signing for Stoke. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I would echo those points. I think you said pretty much that's all that needs to be said there in terms of Dwight Gale. Great. That would be a great signing there. It'd be interesting to see what figure is supposedly involved. Did you have a figure quoted at all?
It's purely really sort of low-key talks at the moment. The talk is literally a swap deal through Bado Endai moving to Newcastle with Dwight Gale going the opposite direction, whether it's a very similar deal to the Rondon deal last year.
Yeah.
Where Rondon and Murphy effectively swap places in a swap loan deal. I can probably see that being the case now, because it's probably too late to be trying to force a permanent move through. But I think they can get it done. A player like Dwight Gale proved with West Brom last year that his goals gave them a threat that when you've got a goal scorer like that, there's always a team in the Championship, or two or three, that have that striker, like we were talking about Charlie Austin, that can fire them towards the top, and Dwight Gale has proved that he's fantastic at that.
Yeah, exactly. I was just actually going to bring Harry onto that. I know we've already spoken briefly about Charlie Austin, because obviously the news broke. So love to get Harry's thoughts. Harry, Charlie Austin to West Brom. What's your thoughts on that?
He's a decent player, probably not the Premier League quality. I mean, look, let's go back to him at QPR. What a player he was for them back then. Probably, he was scoring several goals from a few seasons ago, and then got a move to at least Southampton, step up from QPR, but he just couldn't quite nail down position there. So I think, again, him dropping back down to the Championship, trying to get back in that goal scoring rhythm again for him is destiny, considering that he's now coming towards, was he in his 30s now, was he maybe? So he will probably chip is the right level for him.
Okay.
Interesting that you bring back the point about the rhythm again. That I'm not sure if it was me or Danny who made that point earlier.
No, I think that may be new. Yeah.
Oh,
he just needs to get in the rhythm again.
Okay. Let's again, another deal that's just gone through. Tom Pearce has signed for Wigan from Leeds on a 3-year deal. Any thoughts on that, gents?
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Tom Pearce, but although I'm now just seeing if he's going from Leeds have done a lot of selling this transfer window, and that could potentially be a problem for them further down the line.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've sold Janssen. Am I right in thinking that?
Sold him to Brentford on quite a
that was a low deal. Yeah, that was a very low fee. That wasn't it? It was like less than, was it 5 mil? I think something around that.
It was close to 6 million. Close to 6 million.
I mean, what did you make of that, Harry? Because obviously you've seen a bit of him last year with Norwich coming up against him. He was one of the Championship's top defenders, wasn't he?
Well, I'd like to think what a lead smoking selling him for that lower figure. Because that.
Sorry, go on, Harry. Go on, please. Go ahead.
Selling him at such a low figure for one of the Championship's best defenders, one of the most passionate players. You see, I mean, you can see the passion that he didn't like. If we go back to the playoffs against Aston Villa, when when they went and walked the ball into the net, Pontus was back there trying to no, you're not scoring this. You can see the passion. He doesn't like to lose in that, and that's someone that I feel like Leeds could have done with this season. He has got a cool head about him. He's a fantastic centre back, and I just don't see why 6 million was enough to say, all right, bye Pontus. Like that was a bit thick in my opinion.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about, sorry, Danny, I'm going to jump on in.
Go on, you jump on it.
It's interesting as well. He's not the only one they've lost as well. If you look at Kamar Roof has been allowed to leave to go to Anderlecht, which I think is a fascinating deal on its own. And then you've got, Jack Clark was sold for a really low fee to go to Tottenham, even though he's back on loan. It seems like they've done a lot. They're trying to, it's an American sports term, but it's almost like they're blowing it up and trying to rebuild something that wasn't really around very long anyway, and whether there are issues there. But yeah, go ahead.
If I'm allowed to jump in here, they also sold Bailey Peacock Farrell, their young goalkeeper, to Burnley, and I would have felt that he would have given better competition to what they're doing with Kiko Casilla. I mean, Kiko Casilla, good goalkeeper when he was at Real Madrid, but he's had so many mistakes since he's come to Leeds, and they really need someone to give him a bit of competition. I mean, they've now brought in another 19-year-old.
Yeah.
But I feel Peacock Farrell, that's an absolute miss from Leeds to get rid of him.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I remember around the time when it got announced that he was moving to Burnley and it all got announced, it was really interesting seeing some of the reaction from the Leeds fans with that, he's not good enough anyway. That he's not good enough to be in the squad. But it seems almost like they're missing the point almost that, well, a player like Bailey Peacock Farrell is homegrown. He's been at the club since obviously he was a kid, and that letting him go. I mean, what I've seen of him, he has seemed like he does have a mistake in him as well, though. And obviously you said that about Casilla, and whether maybe Bielsa's decided that he wants to move from him. Maybe he wanted a bigger deal. I think that one may have a little more to. I mean, it seems like all the deals, to be honest, actually, you could make that same comment that maybe there's something going on behind the scenes. But it's almost inexcusable, in fairness, to lose someone like that and to lose the rest. It's almost like they've lost a core of their team.
Yeah, I saw somewhere that certainly the excuse for Janssen was supposedly a financial fair play, but I mean, surely you can get much higher than 5 mil or 6 mil quoted for Janssen. I'm really surprised by that personally. So yeah, do you feel that they need to bring in anyone else, Harry and Charlie? Do you guys feel that Leeds need to bring in anyone else prior to the window closing?
Charlie, I'll let you start this one.
Well, yeah, no, I'll dive straight in. I mean, you look at their performance actually at the weekend where they played. Was it Bristol City? They played
Bristol City. Yeah,
it was Bristol City. I would say I watched the game. I don't know why I'm suddenly forgetting who they played. But when you've got, the talent in Pablo Hernandez. I think he's 33 now, is he not? But his way on the ball reminds me of when at Brighton, in our first couple of years in the Championship, we had Vicente, who came from Valencia, and his style of play, his technical ability was beyond that of many other players. And it seems almost like they're giving him a free role this season. And so maybe they've decided, look, we're going to go with what we've got. There is a lot of ability there. I mean, with players like Calvin Phillips in midfield as well, who's a fantastic player, only 23 years old. I think they'll be okay, and I think they've added a bit of quality. I mean, talking about as well about Brighton, they've brought a lone player on loan from us in Ben White, who has got rave reviews in the last few years, and he was talked about as if Lewis Dunk left, he would be the one to step up, and he's very young. I think he's only 20, 21. So I think they're taking a risk, but I think, unfortunately, for some teams in the Championship, you have to take that risk because Leeds, almost characteristically in the last 15, 20 years, have had financial trouble, and I can understand an owner deciding that that's not going to happen, that they're just not going to have, they're not going to take the risk by going and spending what other clubs in the Championship would spend. But I'd be interested to see what you guys are thinking. Like, Harry, what your opinion on it would be?
Leeds have always been a club that have prided their academy. Like, you've seen the stats that every year they use at least an academy graduate. And so, again, there's always, they should be promoting their academy, but they also do need the experience in the squad as well, which is what I worry about for Leeds, is that they've got the experience there. You've got Pablo Hernandez, and you've got Calvin Phillips, Barry Douglas. I mean, you could even go as far as. They've got some good players in that, but I just feel they haven't really invested well enough in the squad to they could probably try again for promotion. Whether they will get it, I don't know.
It'll be a big task.
Certainly.
I think it'll be Bielsa's biggest ever challenge, and that's saying quite a lot given the clubs where he's been. But to get this Leeds team promoted would be a bigger result than last year. But I think we're going to have to cut to a little bit of breaking news here outside the championship.
Yeah, I was going to say
because it's just dropped.
Go on.
Romelu Lukaku has joined Inter Milan. The deal is completed. It's fully announced. 65 million euros with 13 million euros in add-ons. The deal is done. Like we said earlier, it's been dragging on all summer, and it's gone through with just over an hour left in the window. I mean, I hate to move away from the championship, but what are your guys' opinions on that, given that is such a big deal?
I'll tell you what, I'll kick us off. I'm kind of gutted in the sense that I quite enjoyed seeing, certainly Lukaku at Everton. I really enjoyed watching him there. Man United, he did sort of go off the boil a bit. I don't know whether it was a case of the team he had around him didn't quite suit him. I just felt that he never really was the same after that move. So for me, I think if I was Lukaku, which I'm not, but if I was, then yeah, why not look to find a move to rediscover some form? It's a shame it's outside the Premier League. That's my only sort of concern with that. It's a shame it's outside the Premier League, because I'd love to have seen him gone to a rival club and actually gone out there and proved them wrong. But I think at Inter Milan he's going to get his opportunities, and he will be one of the big men there. So I think that's a good move for him.
Yeah, it's interesting to say it as well, because I mean it's kind of been leaked from his camp that he would love to work with Antonio Conte, and now he gets that wish. Now he is very much he's where he wants to be, which I think is what he's been pushing for all summer. And it makes you wonder actually how much of that Dybala swap deal was ever existent, about whether Man United, because Inter Milan weren't willing to offer anywhere near the amount of money they seem to have offered now. But then suddenly they've decided that they're going to pay, what does that come to, 78 million euro. It seems like a really big change, and whether Man United, as much as Ed Woodward gets a kicking, and he probably deserves a lot of that kicking, he's obviously done I think that's quite a good deal for Man United to recoup the money as well. That's pretty much what they spent on him. I think that's good business in today's market.
I was going to say they've lost a little bit of money, obviously, on the Lukaku deal. But what I do worry about for Manchester United is they haven't really found a replacement for him. I mean, I know there's been talk of Mario Mandzukic, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. So who are they going to have to trust up top? Are they going to maybe put Anthony Martial up front, or are they going to trust Marcus Rashford, or even go as young as Mason Greenwood up top?
That sounds like what's being talked about, but that's... I mean, I don't know about your guys' opinion, but that seems like such a huge risk to put on a 17, 18-year-old guy and say, look, even though you might not be necessarily starting, we're going to have to rely on you to score important goals at important times that Lukaku would have been asked to score.
Well, exactly. Like they've spent 80 million on Harry Maguire. They've spent 50 million on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Their defence is solid. I just worry about their up front and their goal scoring ability now for the rest of the season.
We'll have to see if they can bring anyone in with less than an hour and 10 minutes to go. So
definitely
see what they can do. I guess
while we're here, guys, we've had a few questions come in via the chat. Let's
go on, fire away.
I mean, we've got a friend of the HalfTimeCuppa podcast, Will Lindsay. We'll jump to that question first. Have Liverpool made a mistake letting Harry Wilson out on loan with limited cover for Salah and Mane? I mean, Harry Wilson, as he says there, has gone out on loan. He's gone to Bournemouth for the year, most likely as cover for David Brooks until he comes back. But I don't know, what's your guys' opinion on that, being allowing one of your best young players to go out on loan when really he should be making first team cover?
So for me, I don't know all the details.
Oh, hello.
in terms of what's gone on with that contract or anything. But I would, if I was Klopp, I'd be happy to do that deal so long as there was a clause to recall if needed. So I feel if there's a recall clause, then I'd see an issue because Harry Wilson can go out there, he can do his stuff in a Premier League setting, and be one of the big players for Bournemouth, I feel.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously the flip side is he'll be on the bench at Liverpool. So if there's that recall option, I think that's a great deal. I think yes, let him get out there, let him get the minutes, because the minutes, the more minutes he gets, the better player he will be. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
I will jump in here and say Harry Wilson at Championship level proved it with Derby. Absolutely fantastic under Frank Lampard. Frank Lampard, I think, brought some of the best out of him. And I think, I feel it's wrong that Liverpool did let him go out, considering they've not really got a lot of options for the wings. I mean, if you think about it, Mane or Salah are injured. They've really only got, Divock Origi maybe, and that's
Chamberlain.
it. Chamberlain as well. There you go. Yeah. So, I mean, they do. Fair enough.
No, you're absolutely right. No, carry on. No, you are absolutely
That's a fair point, though. Yeah.
Very fair point.
I think he could do with, though, the top six experience, because I think he could go into a Liverpool team. He could do it. I have no doubt about his ability. I think he's one of the best young prospects that we've got going, or Liverpool have got going.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a shame that he's almost a shame that he's chosen to play for Wales, which I'm sure HalfTimeCuppa's Jake will love the fact that I've said that. But I think it's he's never played a single game in the Premier League, which I think is probably Liverpool's decision there. Is if he's going to prove himself, he gets another year now. He gets to play in the Premier League. He gets to play under a manager who will give him the chance to play with freedom as well.
Yeah, it's a great suit for him. Great suit.
Absolutely.
As
like
in, that's a suitable club. I'd say probably Bournemouth in terms of how Liverpool want to play. Maybe being slightly biased. Maybe Norwich as well. Those sort of clubs would have suited him, I think.
I'd love to have had him at Brighton. If I'm being honest, I think he's a fantastic player.
Do you want to? I see there's a few more questions in there. Do you want to move on to some of those?
Yeah, I think let's jump on to. I mean, there's a question there about the best signing of this transfer window. I guess as we've only got 5 minutes left of Harry, we can throw that question to you, Harry. What do you think the best pound for pound signing in the Premier League or in any league? We can open it completely wide. Do you think there's been this transfer window?
I think you'll like me for this one, Charlie. I'm going to say Neil Maupay. I think what a fantastic player he is. He was in the Championship. And for just under 20 million or 20 million around that, I think you'll like what you see of him. He's got pace. He's got good natural ability, goal scoring ability. He could be the one that tips you to not getting relegated this season. And I think that pound for pound, he'll be fantastic.
You can come back, Harry. You can be a regular. I have no issue with you. You are very much a friend of the HalfTimeCuppa podcast. Get that man a t-shirt.
Yeah, we'll have to sort him something. Of course, Harry. By the way, you are welcome. I know we've slotted you in from half 3 to 4, but you are more than welcome to stick around if you want to stick around. And join us for the wrestler show as well. We've got another Harry joining us. Yeah.
With that comment, Harry, you can leave. It's your podcast now. What do you want?
Oh, it's my podcast now. Well, they'll give me some change around here. Honestly, I've enjoyed my time. Thank you guys for having me, and I think I will stick around for a little longer as well.
Good.
Please
do.
No
problem. Yeah, just let us know if you got shoot off. Let us know anytime. That's fine. Do you want to do this? Go on, Danny.
I
was going to say, do you want to do the Serbia? I want to do the Serbian question.
The best Serbian in the Premier League.
Yeah. What do you reckon?
The best Serbian, current Serbian or just ever? Because ever's easy. Ever's just Nemanja Vidic.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that I did my research. Matic.
Yeah, Matic at the moment. Yeah, I guess.
Matic at the moment. Although a curveball one.
Go on.
A curveball one for all time. Nikola Zigic.
Nikola Zigic. I mean, yeah. I mean, Nikola Zigic. But I think currently is. Oh no, I'm going to sound really.
You got Luka
Milivojevic.
Milivojevic.
Yeah, but I can't say that.
He's in there. What you can't say his name, or
no,
you
but
can't...
either. I can't say he's the best current player because it would hurt every fibre of my being. Given that he's obviously Crystal Palace captain, it would. I don't know if I could do that to myself.
I don't think there is. I'm just trying to have a look. You've obviously got Mitrovic, but Mitrovic has moved on, hasn't he? So yeah, no, I don't. I think that's everyone. I don't think there's any more.
This is like one of those quizzes. I can't do it.
This is a great quiz question. Yeah.
Great
so
quiz
if
question.
anyone else, chuck us in your Serbian, your best Serbian Premier League player. Should we say of all time as well?
No, let's go current. Let's go current and all time if they want to, because that's how the question was served.
If anyone's got any, I mean, Tadic is on there.
Dusan Tadic, that's a good shout. I like that.
Okay, current it is then. Current it is.
Current, yeah. Well, to be honest, you've pulled that one out of thin air. I think.
I just remember the Grujic playing in the Premier League at least, and he was at Liverpool, so I thought, yeah, I'll chuck that one in for you. Whether he played a single minute for Liverpool, I'm actually not 100% sure. Oh, no, he made 8 appearances.
8 apperances, yep, there we go.
There we
Marko
go,
Grujic.
all of those 8 appearances.
That is it. 8 appearances is the one.
Well, I mean, we are 1 hour and 1 minute away from the deadline closing. So it's starting. I mean, we've had lots of news come through. I mean, one that's gone well under the radar, and I guess as we move away from the Championship segment, that was a sidetrack anyway.
We sidetracked very much into European football.
We got well lost there. We ended up in Europe, but anyway, Charlie, I see Brighton have got Moy.
Aaron Moy, it's done. Like I said earlier, it's a weird one because now it's only saying it's a 1-year loan, which doesn't sound like there's any option for a permanent deal after that, which I'm fine with because he could be great. He could be a bit of a, he certainly had his issues last year, but I'm excited. I'm excited to get him in. Oh no, getting DDoSed.
It's in a. That's fine. DDoSed. Oh no.
I think we're back.
You know what it is? It's that. You know what it was? It was the Serbians. It was the Serbian players. That's what started it.
It was. We've caused real issues here. We're sorry, Goran.
Okay.
We're sorry for suggesting Nikola Zigic.
Well, yeah. Paul Goran. Okay, so Harry, what did you make of Moy moving to Brighton on a season run?
I would say he was Huddersfield's best player last season.
Yeah,
he was Huddersfield's best player last season, and he definitely needs to keep in the Premier League to maintain the level he was at. So it's a really good move for Brighton.
There you go. Okay, well, I think we've got our next panelist is warming up.
He's on the touchline.
We're about to sub him on.
Wave him down.
He's on the touchline.
Yeah,
we're not subbing anyone off though, but
no. But
we're going to sub him on.
Throw him in.
Yeah. Let's see if we can chuck him in this time without me ending a call.
The whole stream going down. If we could do that, I would.
If we could try and do that, yeah, we'll see. Actually, he says he's in the call. Harry Sherman, are you there? Tumbleweed.
I've introduced him. He's on the screen.
He's on the screen. He's on the screen. This is awkward. Where are you, Harry?
He's not having it.
He'll be back in a minute.
He's pulled an Odin Wingy. I'm getting reports that he's driven off to Sky Sports. He's parked outside. Said he wants to move.
Typical. Let's talk about. Whilst we wait for Harry, let's talk about Zaha. Because obviously one of the things in the background, whilst we were talking about our European clubs, was that Roy Hodgson has sort of said that Zaha's staying and that their transfer business is done. What do you make of that then, Charlie?
I mean, to be honest, what is Wilfred's? Who's advising Wilfred Zaha to hand in a transfer request 24 hours before the window closes? He's had all summer to make a move happen, and if he's been fobbed off by the board, he's been fobbed off by the board. But you have to have a bit of foresight. Not necessarily him, but his advisors have got to be telling him, look, if you want to move to Arsenal, you need to force the club to put their fee down before they go and sign Nicolas Pepe. If he wants to go to Everton, he has to tell them 2 weeks ago, as soon as Everton are interested, he has to go, look, I want to move. You've got to give it to me. I want to move regardless. If Everton are coming in with £70 million, James McCarthy and a year-long loan for Cenk Tosun, why isn't Zaha walking into... I mean, he might well have, but you've got to be going in and saying, look, I want to move. I want to go. Because the situation as it is, you should not be handing in a transfer request 24 hours before a window closes. It never ends well. And now this will drag and drag and drag, and it will overshadow Palace's season until January at the very earliest now, if not leaving today. I think it's crazy that it's been left this late.
Okay, well, let's in Harry Sherman. Hopefully, Harry Sherman.
Has he arrived?
We don't. He's in it. He's in it. I think we're having some Mikey.
But yeah,
that's fine. How when you get in the?
I think he's done right. If he wants the move, he should get his move that he wants. He's handed in the transfer request, but I think he's done it too late to hand in the transfer request, because now it's like given literally Crystal Palace and whatever other club like Everton literally an hour now to try and sort out his future. So, and this whole saga has really been going from the start of the transfer window. He's a good player, and I think it will be a massive miss for Crystal Palace, or he will be a Crystal Palace. But to join a club like Everton for him, make the step up now, I think is well known that it didn't work for him there. But I think now going to a table club, I think that would really.
Oh, we're experiencing some issues again.
It will be interesting. It will be interesting to see what happens. Well, Charlie, we're having all kinds of technical difficulties here.
The wonders of modern technology.
What's going on?
And now, it's all over the place. Transfer deadline day, everything's going mad.
Yeah, I know. Right, let's. I saw a couple of things flash up that were sort of happening. I'm just waiting for those to come back round. I think it was something about Leeds signing Nketiah.
Yep, I've got that in front of me. That's been confirmed. Eddie Nketiah has gone on loan for the year to Leeds from Arsenal. Signed deal there. I mean, we were talking about Leeds earlier, weren't we?
Yeah. This is certainly a good reinforcement and a good player as well. So I think good signing, Harry. I don't know if you agree. I'm sure you probably do, based on our previous conversation.
Yeah, Eddie Nketiah, really decent signing. Good, probably replacement for Kamar Roof. I'm also going to say that he scored twice against Norwich. So he did. Yeah.
Shame they're not playing.
I don't know. I don't know if you saw this, Danny, but after the Norwich match where Eddie did score 2, someone went on his Wikipedia page and changed all his middle name to like Pele, Maradona, all that, and it's like. And I'm thinking, the man has scored against Norwich. It's not like he's been a world beater against Real Madrid, and it was in like the FA Cup. So,
yeah, I remember watching that game. That was,
I was there. I was at the
Emirates.
So
was it the FA Cup or was it the League Cup? I think it was the League Cup.
It might have been the.
We went on a bit of a maze. Yeah, we was on a run.
A bit of a maze.
Yeah, we were.
We did well. We did well that year. Yeah, that's a good deal there. And there was one more. It did pop up. I will find it in a minute. Anyway,
is this? If I jump in, we're a bit of breaking news.
Go on. You jump in. Go on, man.
It's being reported across a few places now. The Mirror and Sky Sports are now reporting it that Watford have had a bid rejected for Danny Rose in literally the last couple of minutes. Which it seems like our conversation earlier about Sessegnon not being a left back seems to be, well, either he's coming in as a left back, or I don't know whether Tottenham had changed their mind given that the bid's been rejected, but it'll be really interesting to see how that one develops in the last hour. Left very late in the day.
Oh, I think this is Harry.
Can you hear me
Harry
now?
Sherman. Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent.
Excellent. He's here.
Live from his bathroom, by the sounds of things.
Sorry about that.
Well, he's got to sneak out, and he's got to sneak out. Can't be on a stream at work, can you?
How are we?
We're not that popular, Danny. No one will know.
No. Yeah, we're good, thanks. How are you, mate?
I'm not bad. A little bit stressed about this mic situation. I can hear everything, but I can't say anything. So I'm here now.
Good. Glad you're here. Actually, I really want to get your thoughts on this. The Zaha, going back to the Zaha bit.
I was listening to this, trying to have my point across, but I couldn't really say it.
I want to get your thoughts. I really want to get your angle as well. Obviously, being a men's team coach at Kindra FC, little shout out there. But if one of your players pulled a Zaha, well, what would be your message to them?
Well, I think that what Zaha, the difficulty Zaha has is that Palace don't need to sell. They don't want to sell, and replacing him is borderline impossible for a team in Palace's position. I mean, if you're looking at Zaha as a singularity, he's easily a Champions League abled player. And can Crystal Palace attract a player of his calibre even with 80 million? Not sure. Highly doubt it. Wan-Bissaka, I think they got their money's worth with him. I think as a right back they can get someone in from abroad or from a lower league for fairly cheap and replace him quite easy. But Zaha is they need him for the Premier League this season. I think if they sold him, they would have struggled a lot this season. From Zaha's point of view, I mean, he signed the contract.
Mm.
I mean, if I remember right, it was a long-term contract as well.
Yeah, 5-year deal signed last summer, making him over £100,000 a week.
If I was the manager of Zaha, I'd say, listen, you signed the contract. We don't need to sell. We don't want to sell. We're not selling you. And I mean, yes, he can have a kick-off. He can refuse to play and whatnot. But the trouble with that is then he will be a lot less appealing for the likes of Arsenal or Everton or Spurs or whoever he wants to go to. And they could easily go abroad, like Arsenal did with Pepe. They could easily go abroad, find someone of a similar quality for a lot cheaper. So I think he shot himself in the foot really when he signed that long-term contract.
I guess though, in a sort of counter argument, if for example he's kicking up a fuss, there we go. If he's kicking up a fuss, if he's not going to play as much as he should, surely that brings down his value as well.
It does, but the thing Zaha has is that Palace have all the power. I think they're in a situation. I think I believe Steve Parish is the type of chairman to say that no player is bigger than the club. You can't sort of force your way out. If we don't want to sell, we won't sell. And that's the right approach it should be. I mean, you see nowadays loads and loads of players sort of almost force themselves out of clubs, or get their agents to force themselves out of clubs, and sort of they come off looking really bad as a result. But I mean, look at the Neymar situation now. I mean, you can see on TV. I mean, he's being pushed around by Mbappe now in the celebrations. I think it's
great clip.
The trouble nowadays is players think they have too much power, and I think it's right for Crystal Palace to say, listen, no, we don't want to sell you. You're a good player for us. We want to keep you. We want you to help us succeed. You signed a long-term contract. We've got the power. You stay with us.
Okay, let's bring in Harry Fraser. Obviously, being a fellow Norwich fan, we've seen a player who sort of up tools or down tools even, and sort of go on strike almost as such in Nelson Oliveira. and he obviously left the club on a free. What's your thoughts? Like, do you see any sort of resemblance between what's going on with Zaha and what went on with Oliveira?
I think Oliveira is a unique case in which he just flat out near enough refused to play for us. He just didn't want to, I think this all really stems back from Oliveira back when his Farker's first game of the season. So when he took off his shirt, sort of thing. But with Zaha, I think the case is that he feels that he wants to play, but he feels he can do it at a bigger level or a higher level, and he feels like moving away from Crystal Palace, he'll be able to attain that.
That's a fair point. Okay, let's move it on now because we've got plenty to talk about, and obviously Harry Sherman. Listen, we're going to have to sort this out. Maybe do you mind if we call you surnames, Sherman and Fraser?
Call me Sherman if you want.
Yeah.
Call me Fraser.
Okay.
I don't mind.
So let's talk about David Luiz as you're here, Sherman. We've been waiting to talk to you about this. Let's get your raw thoughts. David Luiz, do you think he'll be a good signing for Arsenal?
I'm very happy with it. I mean, I'm shocked, but I'm very happy. I think he's for 8 million is what sort of is being shouted around. We've got a player who's still of a very good quality on the ball. He's an obvious leader in sort of the Chelsea camp. I mean, he's the joker. He's the one that brings everyone together and lifts the spirits. And I think we've sort of got a steal out of that, really. I'm surprised Chelsea let him go, considering they can't even replace him.
Are you not worried that his track record is slightly dubious in terms of his ability to almost harm the team? Do you not worry that defensively, and I think also he's got quite the ego on him. Bless him.
Yeah, that's. Listen, I mean, every player nowadays has an ego on them. I think every player nowadays has a tendency to be a bit of a loose cannon. I think if we're talking about defensive options for Arsenal, is he better than Mustafi? Yes. Is he better than Chambers? Yes. Which leaves really David Luiz, Holding, and Socrates. And to have those three as sort of the three options, I'm happy with. Case could be made. Maybe he could be pushed further forward as well, in sort of almost a defensive midfield role. I always thought that suited him more. And when he was first at Chelsea, I always thought he was more of a CDM than a centre back, because he has the ability to sort of pick a pass out, to drive with the ball, and to have a rocket of a long range shot as well. So maybe that was a consideration. But I mean, in terms of, I mean, we're talking about 8 million. If it was 15, 20, 25, then yeah, I'd be having major concerns. But for 8 million to get sort of
a player of his,
good player from Chelsea is I'm more than happy.
Yeah, good pedigree.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of player. Yeah, I think he represents a good deal for Arsenal. I think he's just to jump in and throw my 50p into the conversation. I think he's a fantastic leader as well. I think that's what Arsenal have been trying to bring into the squad slowly in the last. Well, to be fair, in the last in this window, in the last two windows, is bringing those leaders into the squad and giving them a real play. I mean, bringing someone like Socrates in. If you can get Socrates and David Luiz into a real partnership, even though they may be a little bit older, I think they could really complement each other. Really good centre backs, and I think if Emery wants to keep going with this three at the back, you've got players that are flexible enough to play in that system. I think like Harry says,
the three at the back is a much more viable option now, because you'd have David Luiz as sort of the centre man who would essentially pick out the passes and be sort of the ball playing centre back, as it were, with sort of Holding and Socrates either side doing the dirty work, really. And I think again, that's another option.
Okay, well, other than Louise, if you had to sort of highlight one other area to strengthen in the remaining, is it 40 even minutes
42 minutes
left? There we go, 42 minutes left of the window. Where do you think Emery should be looking?
The only real, thing is, to be fair to Arsenal, I think the transfer window they've had has been phenomenal, considering where we were back when it opened, when it was announced we had 45 million to use, and there was all that faff around with Zaha as well. I think the transfer window Arsenal have had has been absolutely incredible. We've strengthened in attack in the likes of Pepe and Martinelli. Strengthened in midfield. We've replaced Ramsey in Cabas. We've got Saliba, who's a very young, very talented defender who's coming in next year, who I think will be sort of more a replacement of David Luiz, and there'll be like a year handover kind of thing. But the only position we haven't really done anything with is goalkeeper. Leno's a very, very good keeper. Don't get me wrong. My issue is Martinez, who's the backup keeper. I was watching the pre-season friendlies, Arsenal against I think it was either Bayern Munich or Real Madrid, and both. Two of the goals that he conceded, he should have done a hell of a lot better with. For a man that should be making his mark and putting a case for number one. So I think really what we need is a backup, a good backup keeper for Leno.
Okay.
But I think we can close up the transfer window now and be extremely happy.
Well, I'm sure you don't want it to close just yet. You want to get Louise over the line and Kieran Tierney, of course.
This is assuming these two players come in.
Of course. We'll come on to Kieran Tierney in a minute. Just quick sort of plug as well. If you've got any questions or any comments, please do send them in. We will be reading through some of these. Goran has obviously sent through his comments in the past about Serbian players in the Premier League. Will obviously sent in a question earlier about Liverpool and AWSFC. There we go. Talking about best transfers this window. So yeah, please do send in any further questions you have. There is one about Norwich, which I'm going to bring Harry Fraser in a second. I want to just grab Harry Sherman just quickly. Best signing of the window so far?
Put you really on the spot there, Will.
Yeah.
I think in terms of, Rodri for City. I think he's was a much needed signing in terms of they needed the replacement for Fernandinho, and I think from what how he's performed in La Liga and how he's performed in pre-season, he's been incredible. I think he will make City even stronger than last season. Best signing of the.
It's all relative, is the issue.
It's all subjective. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of what's been needed and the perfect replacement, I think Rodri is probably arguably the best, most impactful signing. But then there's so many others that you could make a case for.
I think you can make the case with Rodri though that he can be Man City's Busquets. I think is the sort
definitely.
of comparison that keeps being made, and I think it's probably quite an apt comparison. I'm surprised that Barcelona haven't been more active with that, although I guess they've got Frankie de Jong now who can play a similar position. I think he can anchor that midfield like you say, but also his distribution of the ball is fantastic for a player who played in an Atletico Madrid team that could be quite limited at times, and that he has that ability to kind of be in the trenches but also dig out a quality pass against, because there's going to be the things with Man City is more about those games that you need to win against the smaller teams, and having a player that can pick a pass from that position is something that's fantastic for them.
Okay, just because time is against Harry Sherman, sadly, you've got to shoot off. Your loan spell is almost up with us, unfortunately.
Very short period.
Very short period. Short loan spell, nonetheless. Harry, before you go then, Kieran Tierney, talk to us. What's your thoughts on him?
Very happy. Another one. I mean, he's one that we've apparently looked at for a while, for sort of over a few seasons. But I mean, there's loads of comparisons being made with Andy Robertson. Obviously, if he
Such
has
a lazy
similar
comparison.
Oh yeah, definitely, exactly. I mean, if he has the same sort of impact, yeah, buzzing. But I think what he offers us is the ability to attack much more effectively down both wings. Now that we have Bellerin on the right and and hopefully Tierney on the left, because Kolasinac, although he's good defensively, I think going forward he was poor. Monreal, he's on his way out. I think he's going to be converted more to a centre back now. I think left back and Tierney is probably one of the positions we needed to really try and boost, and getting Tierney in is hopefully it'll prove to be a fantastic signing. I'm not going to say it will be because he is jumping from a very easy league straight into the Premier League top six. So it's a big jump, but if he can match it, if he can hold his ground and be an impact like Andy Robertson, then fantastic.
And what's your ambitions as an Arsenal fan? What's your ambitions this season? Where do you think you'll end up?
Considering Chelsea have not been able to make any signings, and they have a very inexperienced manager in Frank Lampard, and Man U with a whole number of different reasons why I think there's problems there. I think top four is the aim. I think top four is the target. I think Europa League, it'll be nice to make the final, it'll be nice to try and win it, but I think top four really has to be the target. I think with all these transfers in instalments and all these loan deals with options to buy or obligations to buy or whatever, I think the Arsenal board and the Arsenal sort of senior management have bought, assuming and aiming for the fact that we'll get Champions League this season and going for that Champions League money. So I think that is the hit or miss for us.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Harry Sherman.
No worries.
I hope you enjoyed being part of the panel. It was always a pleasure to have you.
Honour and a privilege. I'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, certainly. We'll be in touch. I'd love to get you on for a couple of podcasts as well. We'll chat about that. They're exciting, trust me. Okay, well, that's Harry's time with us, unfortunately, to the end. Let's turn over to Harry Fraser now. Then, Harry, let's talk about Norwich. Goran put in an interesting question into the chat. He asked, have Norwich done enough to sort of prevent the big clubs like Man City absolutely destroying them?
Ooh. Well, I feel that's an interesting question, where we have, unlike the other two promoted teams, we haven't gone out and spent millions. It's very well known that Villa have spent well over 100 million, and Sheffield United has spent nearly 50 million or so. We haven't spent near enough of that. We've spent £1 million, or maybe just over that, in fact. And but I still feel we've brought in some quality. Sam Byron has played in the Premier League, has experience, and only for 750,000.
Absolute steal.
Can you tell me what other sporting director could make that sort of deal happen? No, it's a hard deal to get for a player of his quality for under £1 million. Absolute steal. We've got obviously good loans coming in. Patrick Roberts, a really good one for the future with Manchester City. Ibrahim Amadou. Now, from what I've seen of him, him at Sevilla, he wasn't amazing, but his previous club before that, was it Lille, I think it was?
Yeah, that's the one.
Absolutely fantastic, apparently. So hopefully he can find that in the Premier League. And I feel what we've done is brought in a good loan signing. That's what we've been really smart with the players that we've brought in. I mean, even Ralph Farman as well, one of Germany's top keepers in recent years, kind of lost his way a little bit with Schalke last season, but I feel like he is going to offer really good competition to Tim Krul. But going really properly back to the question, are we going to be decimated by these bigger teams? I think you'll be surprised, and that's what I really hope. I feel that every year we come in, or every time we're in the Premier League, we're always written off. They always do, and that's what we've been. Norwich have been going on about, saying they wrote us off. They always do. I feel that this year is going to be completely different to any other year that Norwich have been in the Premier League, where I feel we're more equipped. We've got a manager that wants the best out of his players, wants to give the players the opportunity to express themselves, and I feel that we will be okay. That's all I want to say. We will be okay, even against the bigger teams.
I sure hope so. What's your out of all the business we've done, what's the one piece that probably pleases you the most?
I'm going to say it's got to be the goalkeeper for me. I cannot believe that we got Ralph Farman from Schalke to us, really. Like I said, he was a brilliant German goalkeeper. Lost his way at Schalke, but he has got the experience. He knows what he's doing. And he's going to offer really good competition for Tim Krul. And I feel that he is going to be massive for us. We've never really always had that solid goalkeeper, and I feel like he could be, and I could be in my own words here, after tomorrow, depending on who we start. He's. I just really look forward to this Premier League season. I really don't have any expectations, although if I really did have one, it's just to stay up. That is it. I mean, I don't know what Danny.
I don't know what else we can really expect other than to hope to stay up.
I mean, I was going to say, Danny, what are your expectations for the season for us?
I think it's going to be tough. I do think we are going to get, and probably tomorrow night is going to be a bit of a baptism of fire. I feel like I hope they don't, but I do feel like the floodgates may open.
I wonder if I could jump in as a fan of a club that were in a very similar position to where you guys are now. Obviously, we did a little bit more business, I'd like to think, in our first, some than you did. But our first game when we got promoted was at home to Man City. And a Manchester City team that were at the cusp of being what they were. And I think that first game of the season, though, is always tetchy. I wouldn't be surprised by whether you do well tomorrow, because I think you've got a decent team. Do you not worry, though, that obviously getting into the Premier League brings with it a lot of money? Do you not worry that you're not being proactive enough to kind of improve in those areas that you need to improve? Or do you think the business, like I say, you seem very positive about the business there. Do you not worry that maybe having a team as essentially as inexperienced really in the Premier League as you've got might be an issue that comes up?
I feel like this is just a go. We're in the Premier League way too soon. This is not this was never part of like Stuart Webber and Daniel Farke's plan to ever be in the Premier League at the stage that we are. We were probably expecting to maybe hopefully get promoted in the next, when Stuart Webber first certainly came in the next, 3 or 4 years. But this has come extremely soon for us. And I think the business that we've done, like I said, it's smart, is what we've done. We've not gone and overspent, because we've done that in the past and they've not worked out. The likes of Stephen Naismith, Robbie Brady, never worked out for us.
Ricky Van Volswinkel.
And Ricky Van Volswinkel.
Legendary. I loved him.
He's still talked about to this day. He's still talked about to this day by some Norwich fans.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I love him.
Let's put it this way, though. His one goal is one goal. Incredible goal, wasn't it? I mean, it was well worth the money.
Exactly. And what was it? That was the opening day against Everton. I remember that. I think was it Everton? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was. And I think another crazy stat from that weekend was that he had the fewest touches of any Premier League player of opening day. So what's that was, and one of those touches was a goal. So
always the way.
But like I said, we've been smart we have been smart in the transfer window. We've not done what Villa and Sheffield United have done and spend millions. Because again, what Villa could turn out to be the next Fulham. That is what everyone is going on about. They could be the next Fulham because they spent over. They may.
I worry about that. That comparison worries me slightly, because you look at the players they've brought in, and there are a few that you'd look at. I mean, and you would say there is a real difference there. That with players like Tyrone Mings, that they definitely overpaid on. They'll try and tell you they didn't overpay for Tyrone Mings. Absolutely overpaid for Tyrone Mings. Matt Targett, another one. They almost definitely overpaid for Matt Targett. But for players with that sort of ability that have already been at the club, you can't really argue with that. You can't really. If you have to, you kind of have to do that. If you've got players that are that, you rely on that much.
I mean, I guess that argument though could be said in terms of Norwich trying to pursue Jordan Rhodes, really, and trying to keep hold of him.
Are you still being linked to Jordan Rhodes?
I mean, our business. I think I don't know.
I'm sure your business is probably.
It was on. I think on Sky Sports earlier that Stuart Webber was asked, and he was said, "That's it, we're done for today." And I think that was a smart move for us to not go for Jordan Rhodes, because it's just another player who would have just been sitting on the bench, taking up wages. You know that, and of course, he would want to play for the club. Of course he does, but how's he going to get in front of Timu Pukki? How's he going to get in front of Josip Dermic, who has actually been very decent this pre-season?
That's a good bit. I think that's a really good bit of business for you guys, Dermic. He's the sort of character that would, and sort of make up of a player that would be really good at that level.
He knows a good song as well.
He does. That is a really good song. That is a good song.
It's a good song. Have you heard it, Charlie?
No. What? Oh, is this? Oh, because he makes music, doesn't he?
He makes music, yeah.
Oh God, we have Jurgen Lacadi that does that. He's a DJ in Holland, very famous over there apparently.
Wow.
Oh, fair enough.
I'm not listening to Lacadi.
Me neither. He joined. I'll put it in the comments after. Make your mind up on it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's that awful, but like, I'd rather he focused on his football, to be honest. Plenty of time for that.
Yeah, I don't. It's fine.
I'm not going to be the Paul Merson of the conversation and say, "Oh, he's ruining himself because he's making all this bloody music." No, it's fine. What players do outside of the game is no business of what they do in it.
Exactly. These players are allowed to have a social life outside of what they do outside of football.
Exactly. Apparently, you're not allowed to have personality either.
No, if Paul Merson had his way, everything would be black and white.
Wow.
Okay, well let's move the conversation away from Paul Merson now. We don't want to talk about.
Well, yeah, I think
about Sky.
I think if we're talking about the window that's in itself now, it seems to have really slowed down recently.
Yeah, in the last probably half hour, it's died a bit, isn't it?
I think it's yeah. Like, it seems like we are getting towards the end now of what's happening. I think that's just going to happen, though, isn't it? It's going to happen with the window closing earlier than the rest of Europe. A lot of clubs will not want to push it now. That a lot of clubs might be blinking and saying, "Okay, we're not going to do any business." Like with Norwich, we've done a bit of business today, but I've got to be honest, it's pretty inexpensive. Clubs don't want to do big deals late anymore because they're worried that it'll end up being a Fernando Torres, that it'll be an Andy Carroll. In effect, that window was a fantastic window from beginning to end. I don't think anything will ever top that one. The mental January.
That was mental, and hopefully we'll have a January just as mental.
Oh yeah, Norwich sloshing around 100 million.
Oh yeah. Buying nothing.
Making big bids for Glenn Murray.
Just about being able to afford Glenn Murray. Yeah. Never
for Glen Murray and a new sponsorship.
Yeah, there it is.
Actually, just on that then, because let's have something we haven't discussed about yet. The fact that the window shuts before the season. Now, this is, I believe, the second season this has happened. What do you guys think of that? Like, Charlie, do you want to kick us off?
I think it makes sense. All the coaches really prefer it. They really prefer the window closing earlier because it means they know what they're working with and that there's no upheaval. Say, for example, that the window closed on the 2nd of September. Leicester play the first couple of games and they lose. They lose their first couple of games and it's because their defence is shaky. They could come to Brighton and go, okay, here's 50 million for Lewis Dunk, because that's how crazy the window goes sometimes. But here it is, we'll take him, have a nice season. And that leaves a club like Brighton and someone like Graham Potter right in it. It's never good for a selling team to lose a player that late. And so giving clubs just up to the first game, it should be how it always is. And I think Europe is trending towards this, not away from it, which I think says everything.
Yeah, I'll echo that. I prefer that the transfer window does end before the season starts. Managers want their set players before the season starts. They want to know exactly what they're working with. They don't want to be like, okay, right, we've lost the first couple of games, right, who else can we bring in? And then it takes them time to embed in and all that. So I prefer it ending like this, or ending just before the season starts. I mean, we are one day away from the Premier League start, so
yeah. I mean, initially I don't know what you guys thought. Initially I was against it. I didn't really like it as much, just because, say you were to go into a season and you two players get injured, then you've got to scoot around and try and find someone on the quick.
That can still happen though in September.
Exactly. And to be fair, if that was to happen because of this new window, it's kind of the club's own fault, really, that they haven't got that depth. Yeah. At first I was against it, but now I'm probably more for it, actually.
I think it'll just end up being the norm. It'll be like VAR, the rule change that everyone initially doesn't like and wants to find and pick holes in, and then within a few years we'll all adjust to it, like goal line technology. We've all adjusted to that just being part and parcel of the game. It's a rule change that's there. There's nothing stopping it going back to being September, but that just feels a bit arbitrary at this point. I
can't see it. I think they'll just stick by this, I think. But yeah, I'm just having a look, just checking. Nothing else has gone through at the moment because I think it's been a little bit quiet.
Hull are the biggest movers at the moment, bringing in a couple of players. We're bringing in Leo Da Silva from Wigan for a 3-year deal, and then Matthew Pennington on loan from Everton for a year. That seems to be the length and breadth of the last 10-15 minutes of business.
I've just seen pop up as well. It's been up for a little while, but Jacob Murphy having this sort of medical at Sheffield Wednesday ahead of a loan move. What do you make of that, Harry?
Yeah, he did okay for West Brom last season. When he was with us, I thought he was one of the brightest sparks that we had going, and then something at Newcastle was, of course, we were always gonna be like, oh god, now where do we go with this? But I think we've come up for the better for it, and I think that he obviously needed the Premier League experience, and he's had it, and he's played under a great coach like Rafa Benitez. But obviously, it's not going to suit him at Newcastle at the moment. And so I think as a move to Sheffield Wednesday, again, they're a team trying to push for promotion as well. So that's a really good shout for them.
They've not made moves. They've not made moves indicative of that, though, really, this season, have they?
No. I was going to say
Lucas João.
Are they still managerless, are they?
Yes.
Yeah.
As of,
Still yet.
As of the time.
I mean, they can still go for it.
Yeah.
They can still go for promotion.
They can,
we were never obviously looking at the promotion, and look what happened to us. So I think we were a surprise package, and you never know what's going to happen down in the Championship.
I think what was interesting was that Lucas João left them at the weekend to move to Reading, a club that he'd scored against in his last appearance on Saturday for Sheffield Wednesday, which I thought was quite
That's quite funny. I'm sure there's a quiz question in there somewhere.
Oh yeah, who did he score his last goal for Sheffield Wednesday before he moved to Reading?
Yeah, another one, obviously, Massimo Luongo.
That's
He's obviously gone to Sheffield Wednesday as well.
That doesn't scream ambition to me, if I'm being honest, from what I've seen of Massimo Luongo.
No, he was always quite good when I saw him at QPR. He was always decent.
A battling midfielder. No, I don't think he's. I think he's one of those midfielders, a bit like we've got Dale Stevens, and I'm sure you've got a couple in Norwich, although that spring to mind immediately. Tom Tribal, there you go.
Yeah,
that aren't sensational midfielders, but will do a reasonable job for a reasonable amount of time. I think that's decent business. I think he'll do well there. That's probably not not going to set the world light, but not too bad.
Yeah, we'd have to see on that. Let's get your thoughts as well, Harry, on some of the other news that sort of went through. I think in the past 24 hours, the Danny Welbeck to Watford move. What's your thoughts on that?
Right, his career trajectory has just kind of gone down, really, since I'd say leaving, with Arsenal. Started Man United, yeah. I mean, he didn't really have it well there, and then he moved to Arsenal, and we're all, a lot of people scratching their heads thinking, you're really, like, Man United really going to let him go to Arsenal for, well, I don't know actually how much the figure was, but
it wasn't an awful amount. It was like 12 million.
No, I was going to say, but and selling to a rival like that, and that he was there to go prove a point basically in United, but he never really proved that point, and now that's showing because with injury, he was very injury prone always.
Yeah.
And now he's going to Watford, a mid-table club. I think that's his level.
I think the worry is with the things with Danny Welbeck. I think he proved with England and with Arsenal and Man United that he had the ability, but it was very much like you say, it was the injuries that held him back a little bit, almost like Theo Walcott. I think they've had very similar careers, if I'm being honest, that came out and busted onto the scene very bright, but then injuries have really let them down, and selection not being in the manager's plans. I think he probably could have done with a move away from Arsenal a year, maybe 18 months ago. But it's just, I think he's tried to kind of show it out and be like, look, well, I'm going to stay here where I'm comfortable. And it seems like he has had obviously some really horrible injuries. And that apparently there's an issue with his ankle that can basically stop him playing at any point, that he has to just fight through the pain to play. So yeah. I think I wish him all the best, because he's a great character and he's got experience. I think if he's not on huge money at Watford, I think it's a good deal for all parties. He hasn't got to move far. So I think it's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's moving across the country, is he?
No.
It's fine. Let's also get your thoughts on probably one of the biggest signings this window, and probably one of the more controversial ones, Harry Maguire to Manchester United. Who wants to kick us off?
Go on, Harry. I'll let you go first.
Right. So, £80 million for Harry Maguire. My question is he better than Virgil van Dijk? No. We're thinking Harry Maguire is 80 million and Virgil van Dijk 75 million. Virgil van Dijk now looks like an absolute steal compared to that. And I mean, Harry Maguire is, don't get me wrong, good defensive player, fantastic for England especially. I mean, the summer we will never forget. And I think that Harry Maguire, I don't know, he's in a Manchester United team that I think is just, they're going down and down, and they're not really, they're maybe trying to show a bit of ambition with the signing of Daniel James and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They really want to challenge for that top four. They could do again this season, but I just really worry that Harry Maguire, they've paid all this money and he's going to be a flop. And I really hope that isn't the case, because he is really good.
Yeah, Charlie, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm interested. I've got just a couple of. I don't think he'll feel the pressure necessarily. I don't think he'll pay much attention. I don't think players do pay an awful lot of attention. Listening to an interview with Will Hughes recently, and he was talking about the fact that we don't really think about it. It's all just paperwork, effectively, between the clubs. You just basically go and work for someone else. You don't really think about it, and I know there's a lot of pressure around it, and I know it's completely different, but I think with Man United, this is one of the first years that I think that they're putting a team together that's not going to be good this year, and maybe not even good next year. But it's about just slowly bleeding in these young, quality players, hungry players that can be brought into a system. And I think they're going to give Solskjaer the time to put them into a system that works, to give players like Daniel James the time to adjust. He looks like a fabulous player from what I've seen of him as well. And give them the opportunity.
It was great.
He's rapid. He's rapid.
There's that. Who's it? He scored against? Was it Brentford? He scored against in the FA Cup, where he took the ball from his own half and sprinted the length of the pitch, Ryan Giggs style. Lazy comparison, I know, because he's Welsh. But I think, and then you look at Wan-Bissaka, who has the potential to be one of England's best right backs in years to come. Although I don't think he'll ever fully take over from Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's younger, which is a mental stat. And I think it's a project. I think for the first time, everything at that club feels like there's a plan. And it feels like they're all kind of pulling in the same direction, which is, I think if they'd have brought in players like Mario Mandzukic, it would have affected that balance.
But do you feel United? I mean, that's all well and good, the United board backing them. Do you feel that the United fans will invest into this project, or do you feel that if they were to have another not so great season this season, it would be back to the drawing board. We go again. I
think the problem is, like you say, the problem there is expectation doesn't match reality. Is that the expectation at Man United for some fans is so blind in comparison to the reality that Man United, the last time Man United won the Premier League, they arguably didn't have the best squad in the league. They were brought there through masterful management. And the problem is they haven't had that. They haven't had the manager to do that, and so they're having to approach things in a different way. And the thing is, if you're Man United, you've got the leverage to go to your fans and say, look, this is what we're doing. You either get on board, or if you're not on board with the club, then really, do you want to be around? Are you really that invested in the club? So,
Harry, what do you think? Obviously, like Norwich had their plan, their project. Do you feel that kind of approach would work for Man United?
That sort of approach would work for Man United, and in fact, that's the sort of approach they would have even gone for, the Norwich way, if also they'd got their way in the rumours that Stuart Webber, our sporting director, was linked with a move to Manchester United. So I feel that Manchester United, as a club, they need to stick with this, and the fans need to stick with the plan that they've got going. They're not going to win the Premier League next season. They are not going to do it with the squad that they've got. But like you said, they need to believe in the new talent that they're going to get in. They need to really stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They need the fans to back this project. They cannot turn their backs on it. If they don't get Champions League football next season, then don't worry about it. Stick with what you got, because the good times will come again, is what all football fans say. But they will come again for United, I feel.
Okay, well, we've got a bit of breaking news. So I'll wait for you to put up the graphic.
The graphic is coming. It doesn't.
Graphic is coming.
There
awesome.
You go.
Good.
Breaking
it's
news.
Up. Good. Breaking news. So Arsenal have signed Kieran Tierney, and it looks like as well Newcastle are set to re-sign Andy Carroll.
All confirmed. It's done.
Yeah, it's confirmed. I don't know. Going back to that, I still feel quite surprised that's gone through today. That didn't need to go through today. They're just interviewing him now on Sky Sports. He seems quite happy, quite chuffed.
The attention's now pulled away, though, isn't it? The attention's pulled away from the need to bring anyone else in.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of covered the cracks, essentially papered the cracks. Harry, do you think that bringing in Andy Carroll is enough for Newcastle?
How old is he now? In his 30s? Probably. We always talk about that he's a boyhood Newcastle fan, and so now rejoining the club that he left, probably the best suited move for him. It's still a Premier League club. He could have easily dropped down another level, but they need to keep him fit. That is the main focus for Newcastle, keeping him fit, because when he is fit, he is deadly on his day.
Yeah, that would certainly be the trouble, wouldn't it? Is there any others going through at the moment?
The Championship bit of business. If we want to drop down, Cardiff, who've actually been linked with losing Bobby Reed today, which has been met with a rough reaction by fans. He's not left yet. It's Isaac Vassell coming into the club from Birmingham City. Birmingham on a 3-year contract, undisclosed fee, but I think that's a good bit of business for them. He'll suit Neil Warnock. And I wonder if we could have a quick conversation actually about Cardiff. What they're...
Sure.
Because Neil Warnock has said this will definitely be his last season as a manager. Like anywhere, he's saying he's going to retire after the end of this season, although he's very much threatened that before. I mean, what do you think? What do you think Cardiff season's going to end up looking like, given that they've lost their first game of the season as well?
That's a good question. I think Cardiff will. I think Cardiff will be in and around sort of the playoffs. I don't see them challenging for the title personally, because I just think there's some better sides up there.
Definitely,
the likes of Leeds. To be honest, prior to Brighton signing Maupay, I would have felt that Brentford were going to do it this year.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I think they'll be in and around the playoffs, but I don't think there'll be anything special this year.
Yeah, their transfers don't scream. I'm looking at the list of transfers now. It doesn't scream a team that are going to really push themselves back in. I mean, they're now being linked with a move for Marlon Pack from Bristol City. Whether that, I don't think that's not going to put up any trees, if I'm being honest.
No.
It seems like they've gone to the Premier League and now they're receding back down to the size of the Championship club that they were. That it was nice to have a year there. I mean, they've lost like Kenneth Sahor has gone to West Brom. I mean, losing Oumar Niasse and Victor Camarata off their loans, I think that's such a loss in quality. That I don't know. I don't think they'll be automatic promotion hunters, but I mean Neil Warnock has been promoted 8 times in his career. I'm sure he can make it.
He's done it before. He can do it again. Yeah.
I think people would have said the same the year they got promoted.
Yeah, true. I guess what a way it would be for him to go out as well.
What a lovely man. Allegedly.
We'll leave it on that. We've got just over 5 minutes left.
Yep.
I wonder if we've got any shocks or any surprises in store.
Here's one that's bubbling away. The Mail are now reporting, so take that with a pinch of salt. It's the Mail. Everton are set to sign Alex Iwobi for around £40 million. It's a shame that Sherman's not here, because that's a big deal. I'd love to get your opinion on that, because £40 million for Alex Iwobi is bold. Is putting all the chips on the table.
He's not worth that. 40 million is a lot. I wouldn't say he's worth 40 million.
That's crazy. I can't believe that. 40 million.
I mean, take that with a pinch of salt, and obviously we can't confirm the validity of some of these rumours going around, but
that's right.
It's now in fact it's been reported elsewhere as well now.
What is Jim White reporting it yet?
Oh no, I'm not. I don't know. I don't trust the Yellow Time. It might be the Yellow Time.
Yellow Time. Okay, fair enough. 40 mil.
40 million on Alex Iwobi. I want more. I need more crazy deals.
Yeah, but didn't Arsenal only have a budget of 45 million? And look how they spent that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Transfer budgets mean so little nowadays. It's especially in the Premier League. You can start with a £20 million budget and end up spending 200 million.
Do you guys feel that Arsenal will get Luiz over the line?
Yeah, I reckon there's already pictures leaking of him in the kit.
Okay.
So I think that's pretty much nailed on. If it doesn't happen, obviously, then
I think that's an absolute steal for Arsenal at £8 million as well for David Luiz.
Yeah, I can't believe that. 8 mil. I mean, obviously
he is 32.
He's 32. He's clearly aging, but he's going to be on high wages as well, isn't he?
Exactly.
Let's face it. But 8 mil that's really good. I'm surprised no one else has come in for him. Really.
The problem is, other than maybe going into Europe or going back to South America, I don't think anyone else in the Premier League would have been that. I mean, I couldn't have seen Man City deciding suddenly to pluck for David Luiz as a Vincent Kompany replacement.
Yeah, but I mean, Everton have come out for Iwobi, so.
Well, in fairness, Everton are actually that's a really good point. Everton are probably one of the clubs I'd have said, yeah, let's get after it. Let's get David Luiz in for a season. Well, I'm surprised they've not made more progress on a centre back. I think that might be one deal that comes out of nowhere. They'll find a centre back, and Leicester. I think Leicester might find a centre back after 5 o'clock because it happens all the time. Obviously, I think we're planning on staying around for a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, go on, Harry.
With Leicester, it's now aware that they have £80 million to spend after Harry Maguire. This is why now the likes of Lewis Dunk and James Tarkowski are being linked with them for £50-odd million. And like me and all of us, we could say they're not worth that.
No.
Well, maybe Charlie would say that Lewis Dunk is probably
no. I think no. I fully accept that that's just inflation. It's not necessarily what he's worth.
Well, that's the thing. They know you've got. Like they know that Leicester have got the money, so that's
which is the problem with the likes of them reporting or the reports of how much these deals are worth. I mean, I think clubs would rather have it that they just reported them as undisclosed fees.
That's why clubs try to, don't they? But unfortunately, even the reporting that a deal is worth a certain amount of money means that it just ends up being valued at that much money. And so I know there's been numerous deals that have been. I mean, for example, the Adam Webster deal that we signed last weekend, £22 million. I know for a fact is quite wide of the mark. I've been told that it's considerably less than that. That it's probably more towards 17, 18 million, and then a lot of that will be in instalments. So it's the problem of it, isn't it? It's difficult because as a club, you'd probably rather teams know you spent a little bit more, so they know that you haven't got as much left. But at the same time, if you spend more, they might think you have more. So it's such a catch-22. But we've got a little bit more on that Iwobi deal. It sounds like it might even be now 30 million is the number that's now being. It might just be 30 million.
That's a bit more realistic. That's more realistic.
Even that though is like it's a bit more realistic, but still 30 mil.
But on that note,
we got
the bells of Big Ben are struck. That's it.
Struck, have they?
Door the window is closing. It's closing. It's closed.
Oh yeah, it has closed.
That's it.
Boom, pow, over. I like it. So I've got obviously Sky Sports up, and I was about to do a countdown, but obviously that's well behind. So we've actually surpassed the deadline without even meaning to. Yeah,
I'd say we're out. Sorry, go on.
The windows closed very gently. Very gently.
Well, I don't know if this is still the case, but if a club has handed in the sheets if it hands in the transfer sheet to the Premier League that a deal has been agreed, I think they still get a 2-hour grace period.
Yeah.
Much as it used to happen. I remember staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning one morning to see if Vincent Janssen would sign. And then he didn't sign, and I was fuming. Although Vincent Janssen's now playing in Mexico, so swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm intrigued. I would like to have seen him at Brighton. It would have been interesting.
We've got some breaking news.
Go on.
Man City have delved into the market. Scott Carson has joined Man City on a 1-year loan deal.
They got it done. Loan deal, though.
The biggest deal of the window, Danny. Biggest deal of the window.
Loan deal. Who was the United one that they signed?
Lee Grant.
Yeah.
He's still there.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was quite.
What a mental signing!
I think this is only due to the fact that they want the English contingency for obviously it's only for the homegrown rule.
Yeah,
it's only for the
Champions League.
Rule.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
I've done this on Football Manager. I'm not too proud to say it. Search by homegrown status.
Slightly off topic. I've just seen a clip of Andy Carroll walking down a corridor.
God. Is he on
He
crutches?
looks so tall. He's almost like his head's almost hitting the ceiling. Oh my word! I would want to challenge him for a header.
I bet his feet stick out the bed. Bless him.
So, I've just actually seen it's now come up that Scott Carson has signed on loan. That's crazy.
That goes down. There will be an article of top 5 weirdest transfers, and that will be, spoiler alert, featuring.
No, Richard Wright is on there somewhere, surely.
Oh yeah,
because they got him a couple.
Hey, come on, Rob Green to Chelsea.
Stuart Taylor,
Europa League winner. League.
Lifted the trophy. Bless him. He loves it.
Oh, that was so funny. I see. By the looks of it as well, he got on really well with the other players, like because they were actively encouraging him to.
I just can't see Maurizio Sarri as being like the sentimental type. Cigarette in mouth. He's like, Robert, you will hold the trophy. I bet he didn't even know who Rob Green was. In fact, I listened to an interview the other day, and he was like, "Oh, so they were like, Rob, what do you do in training at Chelsea?" He's like, "I just stand there. I'm basically a cone. I'm just a really tall cone at this point." Obviously, he's retired now.
To be fair, you get paid well, so yeah. Okay, so we're going to keep our eyes out for Alex Iwobi as to whether he moves to Everton. SA is, unfortunately, SA is not going to join us, but SA is going to instead listen in. So he is listening in, and he is going to give us, hopefully, give us some thoughts in the comments section as to what he makes of Iwobi potentially joining Everton and whether that be missed. Well, a big miss, should we say, for Arsenal fans. Yeah. Should we? I know we've not really talked about it too much, but let's talk about the Danny Rose bid that Watford had rejected.
Yeah, I mean,
could anything happen?
No, it sounds like it was a definite no from Tottenham as well now. I think Tottenham were maybe moving for a left back as part of their window, and it didn't happen. So it sounds like that's not happened, and I don't think Sessegnon will be a left back. He'll be an attacking option. So I can't see Tottenham to sudden. Daniel Levy's not the sort of guy that will suddenly go at the last minute. Oh yeah, we'd like that 14 million, please.
You never know. Harry, what do you reckon?
Well, Danny Rose in the past has been linked with clubs like Manchester United and even abroad. I don't know if there was a rumour of him somewhere in Syria. Can't quite remember. But there was, for him then going to Watford, I think that's a bit of a slap in the face for him, isn't it? I don't know what you guys think of that. If for him moving to Watford would be a step down in his career.
I think the problem is, I think Danny Rose as a player, a lot of people associate a lot of what he says off the pitch and how outspoken he can be with his playing with the player that he is. I think he's actually a really solid left back. I think he can do a job. They need an elite left back, and they probably need an elite right back. But to keep him about, he's not a bad one to have. But sorry, yeah,
I think he would have been a steal for Watford. Really, I mean, we don't know the price. We don't know what. I don't really know too much about the details of that. But initial thoughts are that would have been a good signing for Watford. There's a bit of breaking news, a done deal in the Championship. So West Brom have signed Benfica striker Chris Willock on loan.
Also, another little bit of breaking news. Talking about Everton a minute ago with Alex Iwobi. We can confirm there's one deal that won't be happening. Is Marcus Rojo. They will not be paying the fee that Manchester United want, so he's staying at Old Trafford for the now time being.
Okay. And another one, just photo confirmation just come through. I know we probably reported it earlier, but Danny Drinkwater
Yep.
has secured his loan move to Chelsea on a season-long loan. So, what did you make of that, Harry? Because we spoke about that right at the start before you came on.
Danny Drinkwater, he was linked with Norwich, wasn't he? He was. And if we had signed him, that would have gone, I would say, against the ethos of what we're trying to create at Norwich. We don't really want to be buying or loaning the more elderly players, maybe towards the 28s, 29s, going on their 30s, and that that would go completely against what we want. We want to sign them young, play them, use them their best abilities, and then be able to sell them on and that. So his experience would have been really good, but I just don't feel like he would have suited the mould at Norwich. But I think for Burnley and for Sean Dyche, he will suit their system perfectly.
Yeah,
Good.
I think that echoes a lot of the thoughts.
Yeah, that's
a lot of the thoughts I had
cool.
earlier, really, on Danny Drinkwater.
No, as I say, I completely agree. Okay, what else have we got? We got anything else happening at the moment? It's gone a little
just
bit
a
quiet,
little one on the Brighton perspective. Hearing that the business in or out of the club might not be necessarily done yet.
Oh,
so
Vincent Janssen.
Vincent Janssen, yeah, he's decided Mexico's not for him. How did you know? Do you know what? I wouldn't want him. I'd boo him. Even if he joined, I'd boo him.
You boo him.
I stayed up to 2 o'clock in the morning for that guy. So
talking of staying up late and all that sort of thing. I don't know, Harry, if you remember the Leeds when Leeds tweeted on their account, "Don't go to bed," to their fans. There's still business to be done, and it was like selling a player. I think we were involved in that somewhere. I think we either received the player or we were meant to loan them or sell them a player, and then we bottled it.
It wasn't like someone like Bradley Johnson, Johnny Howson, someone like that, was it?
No, I think it was after that. I think it was like we were in the Prem. It was a couple of seasons ago.
Probably Liam.
I'll see if I can try and find it. I'm trying to think. It may have been the Becchio one. We got Becchio.
What a man!
Wow. Yeah, what a signing he was for us.
That's one for the kids.
Yeah.
Wow, such a fantastic signing for Norwich he was.
We've signed some great strikers over the years, haven't we? Let's be honest. Becchio, Wolfswinkel, Graben. Graben was actually probably the best out of the three.
Graben.
He probably was, yeah.
Absolute mercenary strike.
Steve Morrison.
Do you see he's moved today? He's moved. He's gone to Shrewsbury permanently now.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame.
He's 35. To be fair, he's the most 50-year-old looking 35-year-old I've ever seen.
He's looked about 35 for the last.
He was
5
born.
years.
He was born looking 35.
Yeah, fair play to him. But it's a good move. It's a good move.
Can't begrudge him. Bless him.
What did you make? Just slightly off topic, Harry. What did you make of the Andre Duzel? Andre Duzel. What do I say?
Andre Duzel.
Duzel.
From Ipswich. Yeah,
Duzel. Yeah, Duzel. Yeah.
Oh, he was the one that again linked with Norwich from Ipswich, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, obviously Ipswich rated him highly, and as we rated him as highly to be linked with him. Would he have made he would have been a good addition to Norwich? Probably. Again, we're really adding to our academy, and I think that's been shown in the signings that we've made to our academy. The likes of Rocky Bashiri, who's now moved on loan to Blackpool, Fitzpatrick from Aberdeen, Motherwell.
Yeah, I think it's Aberdeen.
Yeah, so we would have done really well adding more to our academy, and again dipping into our academy to then use in the Premier League, which is I suspect Farker might do again this season. We've already seen the likes of Adam Ider starting to come through to the first team, and I think he could be a really good, backup option as a striker for Pookie Dermich.
Do you think he'll get his chance this season? Do you think he'll finally get a chance to sort of step into senior football?
Yeah, I think Adam will, and I think it will be like how Max Aarons was introduced, where he was introduced in the Carabao. Yeah, it was the Carabao. So I think that if once we're in that competition, Ida will get his chance, because I think, like last season, it will just be our goal is to probably stay in the Premier League. We may go on a little cup run, may not. Maybe we can get a bit further than the third round of the FA Cup, but we'll see.
The semi-finals are nice, in fairness. Get beaten by Man City's fun.
No, go on, finish off.
No, sorry, carry on. Sorry, I interrupted. Please go ahead.
I'm going to jump in. It looks like Jacob Murphy has joined Sheffield Wednesday on loan, so that one's gone through. And Nottingham Forest have signed a defender called Kemmer. From
Levante. Good signing for them. Good set back. Hey, I'm not here to judge your pronunciations, Danny.
I mean,
I'll let the audience do that.
He's really terrible. I get ripped every time.
Pete O'Rourke.
Right. He's the journalist. He's not even
Pete
not
O'Rourke.
Player, but anyway. Have you had him on Football Manager?
Who's that? Chema. No, well, I've heard of, and he's You'd be surprised how many names you hear of, and you're like, oh, I don't recognise that name, and then you realise where you recognise it from. It's like, well, I know nothing about that player. I know a virtual representation of that player.
Well, he could be, potentially.
But yeah, I think we're starting to slow down a little bit now.
We are. Yeah, it's a little bit of a lull. So we're going to fill the lull. Harry, let's talk about Norwich a little bit more. Max Aarons, prior to him being offered, I think, a 5-year deal, a new 5-year deal, there was obviously links with Crystal Palace. Surprised that no other bigger side sort of came in for him and tabled some proper bids?
Well, I sort of had an inkling that Crystal Palace, of course, would chuck in an offer for Max Aarons, considering they knew they were losing Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think it was laughable at the amount that they offered for Max Aarons, which was a reported £10 million. Not worth that whatsoever.
They offered £10 million. Sorry, carry on. Yeah. That's a madness. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So, and I am surprised the bigger club didn't come in for him. I mean, he was linked with Manchester United as well. We never received an offer for him. And I mean, we talk a lot about Max Aarons, but about him not getting the offers and that.
It is! Get that coming on t-shirts.
He really is.
Coming on t-shirts soon.
I mean, come on! Like the amount of assists he was getting, goals he was getting. I mean, the little flick to Pookie.
I love that. That flick was so good.
I know.
It was so good. Ignore him. Carry on.
Oh, that was great. Like, honestly, he is fantastic. He could do things with a ball that that no other player could.
I totally understand where you're coming from, by the way. I'm not. It's the fact you went right to the very top of the tree. Like you
had to go
straight
right
to the top.
Of course, I'm gonna be biased to Norwich. Of course,
there's no problem.
Why
with
not?
That. There's no problem with that at all.
I'm gonna be biased.
You've got to back your man. You've got to back him. I haven't got a problem with it at all.
I wouldn't be surprised if any Premier League clubs does come for him in January next summer, maybe.
Yeah, I'd be surprised as well if no one comes in for him. But just on that point of backing your man, I mean, Charlie's regularly sort of promoted
I've
Glenn
done all
Murray
sorts.
for England. So
whoa! I have no occasion. I would happily go back through the HalfTimeCuppa archives and find all the times I've gone, Glenn Murray should not be playing for England. I have made that abundantly clear.
That was one of the podcasts we never got around to actually making. It's actually on. It's on.
It's scheduled. You can go to the channel.
Charlie, yeah. Yeah, it was actually scheduled to.
It's been scheduled since February of last year.
Yeah, I know. That's disgusting.
Honestly,
isn't it? We just
honestly.
didn't get round to it.
One day.
Shame. One day when he gets in the England squad, we'll do that.
Gets the England squad. Oh, there's more chance.
Anyway, let's.
And he's French.
He's French, yeah.
Exactly. There's more chance. I stand by my comment.
Essay's written in. He says, I've literally just heard that Iwobi has come in for some harsh criticism from Arsenal fans. What can I say, maybe? That a move away is in the best interest to D. Wenger, Arsenal. So I guess a removal of the old guard there. What's your thoughts on that? You know what? We won't go to Charlie first. We'll go to Harry first. What's your thoughts on that, Harry?
Well, Iwobi we know he's a decent player. We know he can play really well on the wing. We know his quality for Arsenal. And in my opinion, that would be a massive loss for Arsenal just to lose him, because he really has shown his ability over the past, 2 seasons. He really has come into his own. And I think a move away would, to someone like Everton, like Wilfried Zaha, that would be, again, maybe a slight fit. Well, for Iwobi, it would be a step down. For Zaha, maybe a step up. But I think Iwobi would really thrive at Everton, but it would be a really big mistake, I would say, by Arsenal to sell.
And Charlie, what's your thoughts? Are you there? Charlie?
We lost Charlie.
We lost Charlie. We lost Charlie. Oh no, that's worrying.
Hello, I'm back. Hello.
No.
Nope.
Really?
I'm making my enigmatic return. Can you hear me?
We'll hold on a sec.
Hello?
Let's see if he joins us again.
Am I resurfacing?
Yeah.
Have I resurfaced yet?
I think he's in the call. He should still be in the call.
I'll just
double check.
He may have just muted his mic.
Hold on.
He might have done.
I'm still. Why is this now got? All right, 1 second. I'm still around. Hold on. We're still fine. It's all gone a bit wrong. Hold on. Oh, hold on. And can we go back? And that sound means. Are we back?
No, it's.
Am I back?
It's been a pleasure. Oh, he's back. He's back.
I'm back. Am I back from outer space? Hello?
Hello?
You can hear me? Hello?
Is he there? Hello? Yeah, he's there. Yeah, he's back.
Oh, I've tried. Honestly, I don't know what happened there.
That's all right.
Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Just a sneaky bit to jump in. Anyway, there's a bit of non-transfer related news that Leroy Sané, has basically requires surgery on his damaged ACL. What's your thoughts on that, Charlie? Do you feel he'll be a big loss to Man City?
I mean, he will be, but I mean, the problem is ACL injuries are like horrible things to deal with, and especially for a player who relies so much on his speed. I worry about the player that he'll come back as, but I think he'll be okay. I think he obviously puts a bullet in the plans to go to Bayern Munich. I think that's pretty much done now anyway. Yeah. But I wish him all the best. Having suffered with a bit of that injury myself, I can't stress how much I kind of hope that he gets back to his best.
And Harry, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think we'll see Leroy Sané return to his best?
I think it will take time for him to get back to the level he was playing at, because ACL injuries are horrible and it takes a lot to come back from one of those. And he's probably, when he does come back, he's going to be cautious of his speed and that, because he doesn't want to re-injure it again or have a different injury.
Mm.
With a player like Sane, who relies on his pace, like having that sort of injury is now going to be a massive blow, potentially even for any future transfer if he was to go to somewhere like Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a little bit of breaking news as well.
Go on.
Just to jump in, one of the big deals, in honesty, the biggest deal of the day. We've seen it coming all day. Giovanni Lo Celso. We have an official announcement. Deal is done. Season-long loan deal with an option to buy for £60 million next summer.
How much?
£60 million is the
60 million.
for next summer though. He's on loan initially.
Yeah.
So, like I said earlier, it's clubs just renegotiating the payment structure. So, I think that's a really, really fantastic deal for Tottenham. If you're not going to get Dybala, he's the next man that I would pick. He would be a great player for them.
No, it's good. It's a good signing. Yeah.
I don't know whether you guys have an opinion on it. Obviously, I know we don't see it.
I'll agree. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of La Liga and a lot of Lo Celso, but from the hype that has come around him, I'm sure that he's going to fit in really want to do at Tottenham and wants to do at Tottenham.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, I would echo that as well. Yeah. Bang on. So there's not really much else going on at the
There's
moment.
not.
That's
I'm still
probably
trying to work out what this. We're basically a local journo as saying that we might not be done
What's
at
his
Brighton. A guy called Brian Owen.
Brian
Suggesting that we're not finished yet, but that may be outgoings because we've been linked to a few players leaving. Although we do have Sky coming in with another deal here by the looks of things. We were talking about him earlier, Benicophobe.
Yeah.
Apparently he's joined Bristol City. I've kept the breaking news up because we've got a few bits.
Good.
Benicophobe has joined Bristol City on loan for the season, according to Sky sources, which would, I'd say, further fan the flame of a deal for Dwight Gale going to Stoke, but we haven't heard that yet, so I'd imagine that's not happening.
It's been a bit quiet, hasn't it? Yeah,
it has.
Yeah, it's been a bit quiet since.
Another
I think
championship.
that's a great deal for Bristol City.
Yeah. We've got another championship deal potentially, or another bid that was rejected 2 minutes before the deadline. Brentford made a £4 million bid for Lyle Taylor of Charlton 2 minutes before the 5 p.m. deadline. Charlton said no. That deal looks like it's dead and buried now. Unless they came in 30 seconds before the window ended. We all know what fax machines are like.
I mean, I have a friend that is a Charlton fan, and he will tell you how good Lyle Taylor is. And $4 million, I think, is well under their valuation of him. So, of course, that was going to get rejected.
Yeah, for sure. It seems a little bit low ball at the last minute, and try and hope you catch him.
Mm-hmm.
That's given that they can't even do loan signings. Like last season, I think this case was they can make loan signings up until the end of September.
Loans up.
But it's now just permanent. It is permanents and loans now. Their window is closed. So that's not happening now. I think that's one that's rumoured for a little while. It was either going to be Middlesbrough or Brentford that are making bids for Lyle Taylor. But yeah, so I think it's all going a bit quiet at the minute. Like I say, with Lo Celso, although the rumour is now 55 million or 60 million next summer. A big deal for Tottenham either way. But I wonder if we could talk a little bit about Tottenham's window. Obviously, it's the first. Not had to have this conversation for the last couple of windows because obviously no business. What do you guys make of their moves?
I mean, if I can start, then I would say
go for it.
I think one of the first bits of business that their window on a whole has been actually very decent. I think getting the signings of Jack Clark and Ndombele, both fantastic bits of business. Jack Clark is one of them players that is now coming up, and he really is. He proved it at Leeds that he can do it, and he's gone back on loan there for another season, and he will join up with Tottenham next season. And I think he would need that championship experience, and I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, when he does come to Tottenham, that he might go out on loan again, but maybe to a Premier League club, maybe do what Harry Wilson is doing. And then with Ndombele, I think with his son, he's more of a central defensive midfielder, isn't he? So
More of in the Yaya Toure mould.
He's a solid guy to have in the midfield, he's like that. Yeah, so it's more like box to box. So that really kind of, I'd say, pushes out Victor Wanyama.
Yeah.
And
he's been made available.
Understood today to say we'll happily let him go.
Yeah.
He was made available. So I think, and then obviously now with the signing of Lo Celso, and is Ryan Sessegnon confirmed?
It's not officially confirmed, but there have been quite a few leaked photos of him in the kit.
Yeah, I'm seeing on a couple of sites he's confirmed. Like there's one in particular, just says confirmed.
So but that one's going to happen as well. I think it's been a very solid window for Tottenham, and I think fans will be happy considering that they haven't done any business in the last 2 years was it?
The last two windows they haven't done any business.
Last two windows they've done absolutely no business. So there you go. Tottenham are like, okay, here's our business. Here's how much we've spent, and that they've spent close to over 100 million as well for them. That will bring their total up too. So I think they've done really, really well with the signings that they have brought in.
Yep, I would echo that. I know I 100% echo the point you made about Jack Clark. Really liked him.
Only 18 as well.
He's a really exciting player for Leeds. I think he may be one. And certainly if they've got Sessegnon and they've got a few other youngsters in there, that'll work quite well.
Just to move on, a little bit more news that's reaching us. That Crystal Palace had a bit of a sparse window, really, given what they've lost. They failed to reach an agreement with Red Bull Leipzig over the signing of their French striker Jean-Kevin Augustin. They offered £15 million. He held talks with Palace and decided that he wanted to stay on the continent. Didn't want to move he wanted a bit more time as well, which actually comes back to our conversation earlier about the window closing earlier. That actually there are going to be players that are going to say, look, actually, while the window closes later in Europe, I'm not going to be forced into a snap decision. I'm going to take my time a little bit more with this. I think it's worrying for Crystal Palace because I feel like they've really not done enough business.
I guess that kind of leads on to a question I really want to pose to you both, which is which Premier League team would you say has done the worst business and which team would you say has done the best bit of business?
That's a difficult one.
Maybe not.
I'd lean to Crystal Palace. To be honest, taking my bias out of it completely. They lost one of the brightest young fullbacks in the country, and haven't replaced him with anything. They lost a striker who came in January, Michy Batshuayi. They've not replaced him. They've let him go. And they've effectively said, okay, Jordan Ayew can come back from Swansea. He was there last season. And they just seem to be even more reliant on Wilfried Zaha in a time when Wilfried Zaha might not even want to play for them. A time where he might just suddenly turn around and go, do you know what? What's the point? What's the point in it? Like, there's so many players that are down tools, like Alexis Sanchez towards the end of his time at Arsenal. He decided that was it. What's the point? Like, this is a joke. I've done everything for the club. I've asked you if I can leave, and I almost guarantee you that it was spoken about when he signed that contract last year. He said, "Look, if I do eventually want to leave, we need to come to terms with it." And I think Crystal Palace, on the whole, have just done really, really awful business.
I'm going to agree with you, Charlie, 100%. I don't think that they've done well at all with who they've brought, and they're really relying on Wilfried Zaha here, and it looks like they're going to now have to rely on him throughout maybe at least till January. But his head's not going to be in the right frame of mind to play for it, considering that Crystal Palace, they've really got not a lot of ambition. That's what it really is happening here, and I really wouldn't be surprised if they actually get relegated this season.
Yeah, I don't know quite that far. I mean, I obviously personal opinion would dictate that question. I worry for them, and I think maybe a couple of the other ones you could talk about. I think some people would point at Norwich, if I'm being honest, with the limited amount of business, not necessarily the poor business, because there is certainly. I mean, you look at Newcastle and the players they've brought in; they've taken risks on unproven Premier League players, which, as a Brighton fan, I can tell you does not work all the time. I think it's I worry for Norwich that they've not brought in proven quality. Someone like Sam Byram has struggled at the Premier League level, has done a fantastic job in the Championship, and every time I've seen him down there, he's looked fantastic. So he may well just be fantastic. But I worry about the limited amount of business you guys have done, and whether that will come back to haunt you.
I think, but obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased. I think we've done quite well, certainly considering the financial constraints.
That's interesting. You say financial constraints, obviously given the world of opportunity that's just opened in front of you. Are you suggesting the club don't want to reinvest that money, or I'm just intrigued because I know when we got promoted, we spent quite heavy. We spent £90 million.
Yeah, so essentially, I mean, Stuart Webber did a really good interview on. So Stuart Webber's our sporting director. For anyone who doesn't know, I know you know Charlie.
Sorry, yeah.
Anyone else? Sorry. He did a really good interview on the Talk Norwich City podcast. And I really strongly advise any Norwich fans who haven't listened, give that a listen. It's really good. But essentially, he basically opens up and sort of says it all goes back to sort of the Maddison deal, the James Maddison deal, where we essentially had to sell. I know Charlie's busy there, but we essentially had to sell James Maddison to keep the club afloat. So yeah, it all goes back to that. Really, I don't know if Harry knows a bit of details that maybe I don't, or maybe I'm correct what needs to be corrected.
I mean, yeah, you were right that we needed to sell Maddison to keep the club afloat. When Stuart Webber came, we were actually on the brink of entering administration and getting near enough liquidated, essentially.
Jeez, really?
We were on the brink.
That recently?
Yeah.
Wow. No, crikey, I'm uneducated, so I'm happy to get educated.
So it really was a struggle for us at the time, and obviously bringing in a player of Maddison's quality and Farker really using him to the best of his ability really helped us in the long run now, because now look at where we are with we are really now emphasising youth, which is really what we wanted to, which is now what Farker and Webber's philosophy is.
Yeah, I know. I think honestly, my comment about them potentially being described as the worst business is purely for the lack, not for the squad you've got, but for the players that other clubs have added in that time. I think there could be that question. But like I said, we don't know. The thing about this is that people will always try and guess how good a season people will have before the season starts, and it's impossible to do.
Yeah.
Unless you're guessing how well Man City will do, and you can go, oh yeah, I think they'll finish in the top two, if I'm being honest.
Tomorrow night, Norwich v Liverpool, it's going to be a good test for our lot, especially. You know, we're being chucked right in the deep end here. We've not got a lot of Premier League experience in our squad, but I say, as I've said it before here, you know, they wrote us off. They always do.
I don't know. I do worry about tomorrow night. I just don't. If it was anyone else, if it was Man City, if it was Man United, Chelsea, or whatever, then I'd say yeah. But because it's Liverpool, and I'm sure you know, Harry, our record against Liverpool is terrible.
I know, but they haven't got Suarez.
Yeah, that's a positive. Well, we don't know. They may have just sneaked him in loan just for
one
tomorrow.
One match loan.
One match loan. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. What for me anyway, a club that's done probably the worst, I think. Yeah, I'd agree. Palace definitely.
Go on, say Brighton. Just because I said Norwich.
No. I'm not going to say Brighton, because Brighton have obviously brought in Pie, and I think probably prior to you bringing him in, maybe you would have been in contention. But he's a good striker. You needed someone like him, so that's good. I think for me, it's probably is Newcastle. I just don't feel, and that's kind of because of what's gone on ownership wise, and then obviously with the manager and all that sort of thing. So I do have elements of sympathy, because it's not really, it's not them not trying, it's because of what's gone on background has kind of affected it. So yeah, I do think Newcastle are going to struggle, and I think Crystal Palace, I do agree, I think are going to struggle. I think they'll be in and around it. But
It's
realistically, you look at the players. You look at the players. Like, I know he's been off the boil, Benteke, but Benteke is still a name that can get you a few goals at least.
How many goals did he score last season? Out of interest.
God knows. I think
it was one.
Was it one? Well, I mean,
I could be wrong, and I'm going to get Crystal Palace fans telling me that I'm just a Brighton fan who's trying to take the mick, but that's a genuine guess.
But I do worry. I do worry for them. I think it'll be tough. I think it'll be tough for us as well, and I think it'll be equally as tough for Sheffield United.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think you're totally right there.
It's going to be tough for the newly promoted teams. I'd even chuck Aston Villa in there. Yeah, they've spent over 100 million, but this is still like, I think Dean Smith said it earlier today. Had 15 players basically leave the club, so they've had to replace them. You know, they could have brought in a load of individuals. They could now actually have a team where the team that they have now goes on and really succeeds, gets up there, maybe does something like what Wolves have done. You know.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. You look at their team. Their signings have been a nice blend. I've got them in front of me here. They've got a few players they've taken, European players they've taken risks, or players from European clubs, like Marvelous, who has the best name of any signing